YouTube लाइव्स का लिंक आप चैट पे भेजोगे?
Yes.
ठीक है। कर ले एडमिट 12:45।
Yeah, Harshada, you can start admitting.
Aditya, can you hear me?
Yes, Harsh, we can.
So Aditya, recording start कर दूँ?
हाँ, start.
You were saying something, I think.
YouTube live, I have done it now. We are live on YouTube.
Sounds good.
everyone. Welcome to the track 1. Am I audible, everyone?
Yes.
Do we start in the next couple of minutes?
Yeah, we will start sharp at 1. Another 4 minutes to go.
While we're waiting for 1 o'clock, I request everyone to please keep yourselves on mute. If there is any hindrance in joining, please connect with us on Telegram groups. Anything in between the conference, if you are having an issue, please feel free to put it up on Microsoft Teams chat or on the Telegrams group. You can always reach out to Aditya sir, Harsh or me, or we also have a couple of other hosts whom we'll be introducing in a while. Please feel free to reach out to us if there's any issue with any kind of usability or experience during the conference.
Hi Deepti, this is Praveen here. The sound is echoing.
Okay, thank you, Praveen. We'll look into it.
Praveen, you might have joined using 2 devices, maybe MS Teams and as well as YouTube. So it is advised that if you're on MS Teams, then you can mute the other things. So join using a single device so that you can.
I'm joining from single device. And see in the chat, others are facing the same.
So we are not facing any echoing at our end, by the way. So
we have everybody muted, right, Harsh?
yeah. Yeah, I am also not experiencing any echo or yeah, sound is good. Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Hello.
Yes.
This is Sharif. So I have a quick question. So this session is related to testing perspective, or it will be into development?
It is mostly on the testing side. It is API testing related. Most of the 99.9% sessions are all API testing related. Okay.
Thank you.
Is my screen visible, Aditya?
Yes.
And one more question. Will this session be recorded?
Yes.
Yes, it will get recorded. I think it will take some time for us to deliver it to you. This is also getting streamed on YouTube, so probably you can have it readily available after the event finishes.
Okay, thank you.
Deepti, we can start. It is 1.
Sure. Hello everyone. So, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the API Summit 2021. This is the first of its kind API-oriented virtual conference. We are having tough times. We have all overcome and continuing to keep ourselves safe and sane during this hour of pandemic. This event was scheduled for July, but since a lot of chaos was there during that time and a lot of community members were also affected, we thought it would be a great idea to have it when most of us are doing good and even the receiving end is feeling good. So, as a community, we continue to stay strong and we are here today to face our first API Summit 2021. May the Almighty continue to be kind on us. So I am Deepthi. I work on testing and delivery side of the IT firms for around 8 years now. I have been associated with ATA for a few years, and it has helped me grow in various flavors across my experience with the community. I have played many roles across, like from being an attendee to a speaker to a jury member to a panel member, and today I'm very glad to be a host, and especially for the API testing summit because this is one of the main streams that I have always worked from the beginning of my career. Thank you again for the opportunity given to me, and thanks for believing in me. Dear audience, along with me, we will have a few more folks from the community who will be there across the journey with us, which is Sumit, Rituraj, and Karthik. We will have them introduced as and when they join us. We also have the backbone committee, Aditya Sir, Harsh, and many more steering members who have worked seamlessly to have this have the seamless effort and seamless experience to bring to you. We are glad to have esteemed speakers talk on various flavors and layers of API today. Thank you all for associating yourselves with ATA and joining us here to learn, discuss, unlearn, network, play, and enjoy the Saturday with APIs. Can I call upon Aditya sir to address the audience and brief more about today's event?
Sure. Thank you so much, Deepthi. I'll share my screen now and take it out from there. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys. So a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you, Deepthi, for bringing the narrative in. All right, guys. Normally we start with a prayer. So let me do that. I do that in all the conferences as well. Sarvesham swastir bhavtu, Sarvesham shantir bhavtu, Sarvesham purnam bhavtu, Sarvesham mangalam bhavtu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May there be well-being in all. May there be peace in all. May there be fulfillment. May there be auspiciousness in all. I'm sure with this tough times, COVID going around everywhere, this prayer has more meaning attached than what I had experienced in last few years every time when I did it in the other conferences. With that, our few requests. Please keep yourself on mute. Please do not show your video unless asked for. For any question post the session, you can actually raise your hands and track post will ask you to speak at that moment. Please unmute and then ask your question. You may want to show your video also if you wish at that point. Okay. And these are the tags. Make sure that you can note it down. #API Summit 2021. You need to tag Agile Alliance @Agile Alliance. Remember, guys, this is the first API testing conference that is happening all across the globe. Okay. Now a quick question to you guys. You can participate here. Can you open your browser, go to slido.com and in the event type API Summit 2021. I want you to please tell us which city are you attending from. Are you guys able to do that? Can you guys do that, guys, quickly? We'll be using the same platform for our quizzes, so I request you to please go to slido.com. Yeah, Bangalore, Mumbai. Let's see. Guys, unmute yourself. Please mute yourself if you have unmuted. Mute yourself, please.
Aditya sir, I'm not able to enter any kind of city.
So first, go to slido.com and enter the code. When you enter the code, type API Summit.
Okay.
2021. Then you can enter the. Okay. First, yeah.
Quickly, just to make the audience friendly with the slido.com, here it goes. It will be something like this. So this is slido.com. You'll have to enter the API Summit here. Yeah, here is where you need to enter where you're attending from.
Yes, so we have got 40 people responding to this question. Very nice. I'm going to hold on for another minute. I've been allocated 15 minutes here, but I just thought that it would be a good idea for you guys to also get used to this platform, Slido. We'll be using this for our quiz shortly. Okay, we got guys joining in from US. We've got from Syria. We've got from Malaysia. We've got from London.
Adi, maybe you want to share your screen as well.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Oh, good. Thanks for letting me know. I thought I had shared, so good. All right, there you go. So we have got 74 guys here. Look at the amount of participation going on from all around the globe. This is amazing here. Welcome you all. A warm welcome from all of us at API Summit 2021, guys. I'll just wait for another half a minute and then we'll proceed. Okay. All right. So I'll move ahead, guys. Is that okay? And yeah. All right. So here we go ahead. Quick question to you guys. So we are moving on to the next question here. Can you please let us know why is API Summit 2021 so special? I want to hear from you. You can answer it on Slido. Yeah. So you're still answering the previous question. That's fine. But if you can let us know why is API Summit 2021 so special? Why do you think API Summit 2021 is so special? Okay, 1 minute, guys. All right. Half a minute more. Let's see whether we can see whether you can actually talk about why is API Summit 2021 so special. I want to hear your view. All right. If you look at it, there we go. Yeah, brilliant. All right. So I would request that if you can keep on giving this for another half a minute, I'll move on to the next slide and explain from our perspective why this is so special. Yeah, we are connecting on wide range of topics, first of its kind in great learning, innovative, very nice. It's unique related to API. You are right. It is one of the, I think, the only conference today in the world which is all about API testing and nothing else. Very true. All right, guys. So I'm going to move ahead and give our makes this API Summit so special. Okay. So here I go. So according to us, there are 4 reasons. Number 1, it is the first global conference on API testing. There is no other conference which has been attempted on API testing. So we are pioneers here. You guys are pioneers here for participating in this wonderful conference. Number 2, why it is special is it has received phenomenal 1200 plus registrations, and we've got more than 550 organizations being represented today. Obviously, depending upon how many people attended, it is based on the registration data. Third thing, why it is so special, it is 100% community driven. It is a free conference, completely free conference, completely community driven. Great effort put in by a lot of people. And more importantly, this is what Deepti also highlighted, we survived the COVID onslaught. So if you look at the data at 8th of May when it was scheduled, that was the peak of COVID in India. We had around 400,000 cases, and at that moment we could not do it. A lot of our own guys were down. I was down, and I would like to thank you all for making sure that all the speakers stood by, even if we postponed this summit. So that makes it special. So API Summit is very, very special, guys. And for that, a big thanks to all of you for being with us. I would like to applaud and thank you all guys for being with us and attending this conference. I would like to also thank all our sponsors and supporters. It is being brought to you by Agile Testing Alliance, DevOps Alliance, CPWST and QualityKiosk. Our community partners are CSQA, Esteem, KDN, Fundo Testers, Selectors Hub and Synapse. A big round of applause for them as well, guys. Thanks to our speakers, without which the conference would never exist. A huge plethora of these esteemed speakers. We will start with Rudolph, and there is a whole lot of people and a whole lot of speakers who are going to share their knowledge, wonderful knowledge, and wonderful speakers they are, right? And thanks to our dedicated team, if you look at our organizing team, it is 24 strong members working behind the scenes. Few of them will be visible today, but there are a lot who would be managing different tasks behind the stages. I would like to thank all of them. Okay, some quick updates before we jump into the first session. Number one, I hope you guys are aware that there is a schedule on the website. It is divided into two tracks. Right now we are in track 1. So track 1 covers keynote 1 and keynote 2. Then there is CPWST Hall of Fame. There will be quiz after that. And then we will break into two tracks. This particular meeting will remain, and there is another meeting link which is provided to you, which is where the parallel track will start. Okay. These are the links which are available. I hope that you are aware that it is being telecast live on YouTube. Plus the MS Teams links are also available. Okay. Very important, except for two sessions which have a different feedback link. We have a common feedback link which is being shared here. I will, and the host will share the feedback link with you guys on the chat. And by the way, the person who does the most relevant and maximum feedback will win an Amazon voucher of 1000 INR. So we really request your feedback, guys. In the past, we have seen that a lot of people don't give their feedback. That is the reason it was suggested by our team and a lot of people outside our team that why don't we announce a special contest on it, so that we get relevant feedback. All the speakers really look forward to your feedback. If you like something, mention it out. If you don't like, please mention it out. Feel free to let us know your feedback about every session. Okay, this is very, very important. And the person who is attending all the sessions and giving automatically will be qualified unless until there is a tie. And in that case, relevant and the way that the feedback has come in will actually get the prize. Okay. Just to give you a quick update, we are probably one of the first organizations doing something very special on AI for software testing. Go and check ataevents.org. This is one of the most practical program on how would you apply artificial intelligence for software testing, happening on 31st July and 1st August. Okay, some quick information on the contest. Contest 1 is the quiz, which will come after CPWST Hall of Fame. So stay tuned. Winner will get 1000 INR Amazon Indian voucher. Okay. Contest 2 is a Twitter contest. If you are on Twitter, make sure that you tweet. This Twitter contest is open, already open. It is open from 1 p.m. till 9 p.m. India time. The winners will be announced tomorrow or on Monday. We'll analyze the data. And you're going to use the hashtag #AP2021. And please include @Agile Testing Alliance. These are mandatory, guys. If you don't include, we will not know whether you have tweeted or not. So make sure that you use hashtag API Summit 2021 and you include @Agile Testing Alliance in your tweet when you are tweeting about the sessions, about the conference, and the most tweets and the best tweets win a special prize. Okay. Contest 3 is specially for LinkedIn. If you're not active on Twitter and you are active on LinkedIn, you have to use LinkedIn and you can use or post as much as you want. The best and most tweets or most post in this case with the hashtag #API Summit, and please tag Agile Testing Alliance and please tag myself, Aditya Garg, so that I'm aware that you have posted on LinkedIn, so that we can basically check out who is the winner and we can announce the winner. Okay. Contest again is open from now onwards till 9 p.m. Okay. All right, guys. So this is another update. If you guys are familiar, we do GTR, which is Global Testing Retreat, every year. This would be our 6th edition. The date is now announced. It is on 11th and 12th December. So stay tuned. We'll be announcing call for papers very soon on this one. Okay. So here we are doing a trial quiz. Remember, this quiz will not have any price. This is for you to get used to the platform. So are you ready? I hope you are ready. Okay, guys. So if you can join the quiz, can you go to slido.com and use API Summit to join? Give your name, yeah. Please make sure that you join the quiz, because every question has got 30 seconds. There are 9 users, already 13 now. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to wait for 1 minute before we start. Remember, it is fastest answers plus correct answers which will basically make you a winner. In this case, it's a trial quiz. Let me repeat that, guys. There are 46 people who have joined, 47. I'm going to wait for half a minute more, okay? 50 people, 51 right now. Get ready, guys. I'm going to start the quiz in any second now. 56. Guys, please quickly join. 61 people right now who are participating in this quiz. Okay, I'm going to do the countdown to start the quiz. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And here the quiz starts. The first question is here. Please answer. You've got 30 seconds to answer it, guys. Okay, 15 more seconds to go. 11 seconds.
Answer is 3.
No, you don't speak up here. You have to basically do it. Okay? Alright, so look. Yeah, this is the trial. That is why we are doing the trial one. So this is where you have seen, and we will also see who have answered it correctly. Okay, so you don't speak up, guys. You have to participate on slido.com. So correct answer is 3, yes. And the leaderboard is Rita, Ankit Jain, who answered in
Actually, from where I have to give the answer actually?
Yeah, you have to go to slido.com and enter API Summit 2021. Please do it now and join the quiz. Okay, this is a trial quiz. Very important. You go to slido.com and type #API Summit 2021 there. Okay. Alright, guys. So I'm going to go to the next question. Are you guys ready? Second question from the quiz. There are 3 questions, 1 of 3 right now. So here you go. Second question. 30 seconds. Seconds to go, 12 seconds to go, 7 seconds, 6 seconds, please answer. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so there you go. It will tell 79 people said, and obviously the correct answer is Arun Narayanaswamy. He is the Director Engineering at Emeritus Law. He is our speaker as well. And at this moment, Mahati is leading the entire leaderboard. She has answered both the questions correctly in 14 seconds. So the third question again, are you guys ready? There you go. We start the third question. 30 seconds. Fastest first basically wins. Seventeen seconds. 81 people participating in this quiz. Okay guys, time is up and it is going to show you the winner here. Right, so maximum out of you have guessed it right, 44%. Rudolph is the right answer. And Ankit Jain is the winner for the trial quiz. Ankit, you don't get any prize money, but I think you are doing well. So get used to this. I think all of you have. Pallavi has spoken here. Yeah, and obviously the next speaker is Rudolph. Guys, these are some of our handles. Make sure that you can actually do that. And I would like to hand it over to Deepti so that she can invite Rudolph to take it off from here.
Thanks, Aditya. I think that was a good icebreaker. We'll come back to playing more such fun games, audience. Let's quickly have Rudolph. Rudolph, are you with us?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Rudolph.
Awesome.
Let me quickly introduce you to our audience. We have our first keynote topic is test automation of microservices in the today's age of digital banking Darwinism. We have Rudolph with us. He's a seasoned IT professional with rich 30 years of experience. He's also a passionate tester. He's an agile engineering coach with Raiffeisen Bank International. He's a very well-known speaker and author who has participated in OOP Agile Tour German Testing Day. He also organizes Agile Test Automation Meetup in Vienna, which attracts around 1,100 members every year. Rudolph, a very warm welcome to you, and we are very excited to hear you.
Yes.
Audience, if you're interested to connect with him, you can always connect with him on LinkedIn. And over to you, Rudolph.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, over to you. You can take over from here. I will be.
So, first, second, I have to share my screen.
Yes, we can see you.
Yes, so this, and then I move to this one. And my control screen say, yes, you can see my screen. So, I guess I have 30 minutes, so I have to set up my clock. So, and so, here we go. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So, welcome to the API Summit and to my talk about test automation in the age of the digital banking Darwinism. There's something wrong, sorry. So, it's better. Again. So, Darwinism, the theory from Charles Darwin that not the strongest survive, furthermore, they who can adapt faster. In fact, currently in the banking industry, only the banks survive who adapt their services faster than their competitors and bring these services to the digital banking market. But what is necessary to do that? You need three things. You need the cloud, you need microservices, and you need a mobile banking app. And of course, you need the right test automation strategy. Hi, my name is Rudolf, and I will tell you today something about test automation for microservices. So, who am I? Why I can talk about this topic? As I said, my name is Rudolf. I'm an Agile engineering coach at Raiffeisen Bank International in Vienna, Austria. And together with my colleagues from the Agile Engineering Support Department, we are helping the RBI product teams in the area of test automation, CI/CD, and DevOps. In addition to my work as Agile engineering coach, I'm the organizer of the Agile Test Automation Meetup Vienna, and I'm hosting 8 times per year the Testbusters Night Vienna. And last but not least, I'm writing articles about test and test automation for IT magazines. Before we start, one slide about Raiffeisen Bank International that you can better understand the context of my talk. Raiffeisen Bank International, short RBI, is an Austrian banking group. RBI operates a banking network in Central and Eastern Europe and covers 17 markets and serves more than 16 million customers via roughly 3,000 branch offices, and the RBI headquarters is in Vienna. So, let's start with an introduction of the RBI Group Digital Solution Program. 4 years ago, RBI started with the Group Digital Solution Program in order not to miss the digitalization of the banking industry. Due to all the new kids on the banking block, better known as fintechs, companies like Inkdiva, N26, Monzo and Co, who now offer all the banking service via the internet, it was necessary that we as a traditional bank do the same. Imagine what does it mean for your business if your competitor makes it possible to open a bank account on a Sunday within 15 minutes via the internet. That's We need 2 hours and you must come to us in the branch. Shades of Charles Darwin. Our answer to handle this nightmare was the Group Digital Solution Program, short GDS. The goal of Group Digital Solution was to offer a new banking platform in the cloud called Merlin, an open banking API platform called Galileo, and a new banking channel via a native mobile app called MyRaiffeisen. MyRaiffeisen, the mobile banking app, covered in phase 1 only Hungarian and Romanian markets. With Group Digital Solution, new technologies and approaches such as Amazon Cloud, Microservices, REST APIs, DevOps, continuous testing came into the bank. Therefore, the topic of software testing, whether manual or automated, had to be redesigned and implemented from scratch. Let's take a look at the challenges of microservices. Until GDS, we in RBI had only big-fat monolithic applications. The rollout cycle was 2 to 4 times per year. With Group Digital Solution, we got a lot of microservices running in Docker containers in the Amazon cloud, which can be accessed via REST APIs from inside the company and from outside the company with every web browser and every mobile device. Microservices have the industry passing. Why? Think about faster release cycles. Think about the ability to take services on and offline without affecting the entire application. And think about the agility to keep up with customer demands. The test strategy for this microservice architecture must cover different topics like Docker containers, Amazon Web Services, REST APIs, API gateways, mobile apps, mobile devices. In this talk, we only take a look at the functional tests of the microservices and the tests of the mobile devices. Details about performance testing and security testing are out of scope for today. Here you can see the simplified Group Digital Solution architecture. We have the front-end layer for web and mobile. Then we have the API layer. Then the Merlin layer where all of our microservices and components are running in Docker containers. And last but not least, we have the back-end layer with our API gateway to access the network banks in Romania and Hungary. You can imagine that the microservice architecture is more complex than monoliths, or let's say it is complex in another way. There are 3 key differences that affect your testing strategy when you're dealing with microservices. First, interconnectivity. A microservice application can have hundreds of individual microservices spread across different machines. These services must communicate across the network in different ways. Testing this communication, the error handling, and the resilience is here a challenge. Then second, we have independency. Each microservice needs to be independent. So it delivers a single functionality and can be deployed in a different, and can be developed in a different technology. Independency means that each service could be replaced, managed, or deployed without affecting the entire system. And then we have scalability. Microservice abilities like concurrency, performance, and resilience are usually handled by scaling the microservice. That means running more instances of a microservice in parallel. Here we must consider concurrency testing to check how the system will hold up if all the services are used at the same time. Scalability is a powerful advantage of microservices and must be considered in your test strategy. So, let's have a small quiz. Which object has to be shown on at least one slide at each test conference? Yes, you are right, the test pyramid. The test pyramid should not be missing at any test conference. But keep in mind that the pyramid is only a model, and the original pyramid was a great model for testing monolithic applications, and there we have 3 layers. 3 layers are enough. Now, with microservice, we have another pyramid. Now, we have 5 layers. And for the effective test approach of microservices, we should bear in mind that the overall system and isolated microservices works as expected. Let's start with the unit layer. At this level, we verify that the core function works correctly in isolation from external references. Here we are checking that we have built the system right. We test the methods and the classes of a microservice. Then we have the service layer. Testing at the service layer dives deep into all functions within the microservice in isolation with mock dependencies. In addition to the functional tests, here we already tested some non-functional things like performance and security too. Next, we have the service integration tests. With these tests, we verify that our microservices works in conjunction with databases, messaging system, and other microservices. These tests are tricky since you have many independent services communicating with other independent services in many ways. This could be synchronous or asynchronous. Service integration testing verifies that a set of microservices delivers a feature. How we organize this in our testing? We collected microservices to a bounded context. We called it a cabinet. And verify that the cabinets are working together as designed. Here we test the main path, the negative path, and our edge cases. What happens if a service dies? What happens if a bit of a component, for instance, a Docker container dies? Things like that. Now, let's take a look at a special type of integration tests which had been forgotten for a long time and only come back on the stage through microservices. Let's talk about consumer-driven contracts. At the API layer, we test that the API works correct with the microservice, especially when services and API are made by different teams. The risk for misunderstanding in the expected behavior is high. Where the API and the microservice was developed by the same team, the standard API tests were sufficient enough. Sorry, what's happened there? Okay, so, yes. Where the API and the microservice was developed by, come on, what's going on my screen? Sorry. Normally I work on a Mac and now on the Windows it is not the same. So, when the API and the microservice was developed by different teams, we had a lot of issues since the country teams, in our case Romania and Hungary, sometimes provided the data not as specified or changed the interface without information. Therefore, we decided to use consumer-driven contracts to test the Merlin Connector. The Merlin Connector is our API gateway to the microservices of the countries and to their backend systems. Consumer-driven contract testing is a technique where the consumer defines the contract. The verification, the test itself, is then executed against the contract at the provider side in their software development lifecycle, in our case in Hungary and Romania. We are using contract tests to ensure that interfaces between the provider and the consumer are implemented correctly. Finally, at the top of the pyramid, we find ourselves with end-to-end tests, where a test scenario maps to a customer journey. A test scenario verifies that the system as a whole meets the business goals. That's why, as much as possible, we try to keep the test boundary here as the fully deployed system and accessing it through the UIs, in our case, through web browsers and mobile apps. Our biggest challenge here was the provisioning of the physical mobile devices, since we needed more than 30 different devices. Now, let's take a closer look at test automation, at our test automation approach. This is a picture of our delivery pipeline, where you can see 5 test stages. We have development, we have system test, we have system integration test, we have the user acceptance stage, and we have production. And the goal of the teams was to deliver the software from the commit to production within 15 minutes. Take a look at the development stage. The development stage is the first stage where all code will be integrated and tested in a central point. Again, the goal here is to check that the feature works correct in conjunction with other features. All data source, as data source, we use mocks with synthetic data. Here we are executing the main user journeys against our RBI in-house mobile device lab, where we had one iOS and one Android device. Then we have the system test stage. Here we check that the software works correct for all user journeys on all mobile devices. The data here comes from our virtual bank. The virtual bank is a set of centralized mocks which are serving selected pseudonymized datasets. Here we are testing the interoperability of our mobile devices, and we executed all of our user journeys in an automated way. And this was the standard journey, the alternative journey, the exception journeys, the negative and the misuse journeys. And these tests we executed against our cloud device lab with more than 30 mobile devices. Now we are at the system integration stage. This is the first stage where we are connected to the countries and their microservices and the legacy backend systems. The goal here is to verify that we get the data from the backend systems via the APIs. We also want to verify that the exception handling in case of connection errors works as designed. And here we are using pseudonymized data from the system integration environments from the network banks. We are executing here some automated user journeys. In our case, this was the standard journey and every error case against our RBI in-house mobile device lab. And then we are at the user acceptance stage. Here we are connected to the country, to Romania and Hungary, to the UAT systems with pseudonymized data. At this stage, we did a lot of manual tests, scripted and exploratory testing, which was executed by business users with their private devices, partly into the wild. Into the wild means at home in the subway, in the train, on the road. Last but not least, after a blue-green deployment, we did only some smoke tests with the most important user journeys. This was the registration, the login, check account, and transfer money. And these tests were executed by beta users. As beta users, we had 10 RBI employees who own an RBI account in Romania or Hungary. After a successful smoke test, we did the full deployment. This speed was only possible with automating almost everything. And now we talk about our test tools, test automation tools, which we use. And when I talk about test automation, we had two types of test automation. We had test automation for the application code and test automation for the infrastructure code. That means we also check our Amazon instances, our EC2 servers, our Docker containers, and so on. Due to the fact that we developed Spring Boot microservices, we used for the unit tests the Spring Test Context Framework. For the service tests at the service layer, we used Postman and Rest Assured for the functional tests, Gatling for performance tests, and Ubers ZAP and Ubers dependency check for security testing. At the service integration layer, again we used Postman and Rest Assured. For the infrastructure side, we used always Inspec and Molecule. And then we are at the API layer, where we check our consumer-driven contracts. Our consumer-driven contracts, as a tool, we use ACT. For the rest of the test, we use Postman, Rest Assured, and Gatling. And then we are at the top of the pyramid, where we run our end-to-end tests from the mobile devices. And for this, we use the framework, the Appium framework. So, now we come to the more practical part, and I will show you how we organize our mobile device lab. To cover 80% of the mobile devices which are used in our target markets, we needed around 30 devices. The maintenance of such a huge set of physical mobile devices is a challenge. We decided to have two device labs. On the left side, you can see our on-premise device lab, where we had one iOS and one Android device, and they were always available for smoke tests. On the right side, you see the UI of our cloud device lab, where we use the mobile device cloud from South Labs with 30 private and more than 1,000 public mobile devices. And now you will see the setup, how our pipeline executes the tests. First, we have our self-developed orchestration tool, which organizes all the artifacts of the product, and which gets triggered by a commit in the repository. Then the pipeline starts with the build of our product and store all the artifacts in our artifactory. Afterwards, we deploy everything to the first stage, which is located on an EC2 instance in the Amazon cloud. As the next step, we prepare the South Labs environment and execute the tests. Therefore, we must create a secure connection to South Labs with the South Connect proxy. The South Connect proxy is a built-in HTTP proxy server that opens a secure down connection for testing between the South Labs virtual machines or real devices, and the website or mobile app behind a corporate firewall. As a next step, then we deployed our native Android and iOS app to our internal app store. This internal app store was connected with South Labs, and South Labs patches the new app if there is a new version available. Now, our app is available in the South Labs environment and can be used for testing. In the next step, we fetches all the test artifacts from Artifactory and set up the execution stage with the test cases, the test suites, and with the list of our needed devices. And afterwards, TestNG executes our Appium tests in the South Labs environment where a Selenium grid is running and orchestrates everything. And this grid starts all the devices from our list which we need for a test run. And at the end, all test files, the test results, the videos, the log files will be stored on an EC2 instance which acts as a reporting server where the results can be accessed for further investigations. So, you know the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words? Now, I will show you more than 1,000 pictures, which means I will show you a video where you can see everything in action. So in the first step, we did a smoke test and verified that all the connections and the South Labs environment is working. It is like a health check. And then after the health check, we started all of our tests in parallel. So, back to my slides. So, we are at the end of my presentation. Now, my last slides. We learned a lot in our group digital solution program in testing a microservice architecture. And on my last slide now, I show you our top 5 lessons learned. Number 1. Use microservices only if you really need microservices. Microservices are great, but you must deal with a lot of other things which are hard to learn and to do. Going the microservice way only because it is hip is the wrong approach. Number 2. Use non-functional tests at microservice level. Start with testing of non-functional features already at microservice level. This is possible, believe me. Yeah? You can execute base checks for performance and security tests at microservice level, and then you can go up to the top of the test pyramid. Number 3, use consumer-driven contracts. If your microservices and APIs are developed by different teams, then use consumer-driven contracts. Number 4, use emulators and simulators. If you do not need mobile device features like NFC for your app, then physical mobile devices are not necessary to test your app. Use emulators and simulators when you check only functionality, compatibility, and interoperability. There is one thing. If you need more than 10 emulators, I would suggest that you use a mobile cloud device lab. And then, number 5, use infrastructure testing. We faced a lot of defects where at the end we recognized that the infrastructure was the reason. Due to that, we introduced infrastructure testing for our cloud environments, Docker containers, and all the other components. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm at the end of my talk. I hope this talk was valuable, and now I'm available for questions.
Thank you so much, Rudolf. That was indeed very informative and very clear. Rudolf, we have a question from Tarun. Tarun, would you want to unmute yourself and come in? Let me
however, I was able to correlate with the application code and infrastructure testing, which Rudolf explained. But what are the core differences still, if I want to have in one line, between the service and the service integration of the microservices testing pyramid which we showed, Rudolf? If you can just light on.
Sorry, but I do not understand you.
Let me rephrase that for you, Rudolf. Tarun wants to know what are the core differences between service integration and service in the microservices test pyramid that you showed in the PPT.
What are the difference between service integration tests and what was the other test?
And service in microservices test.
Sorry, I didn't catch it. So the question is, what is the difference between
service integration, and service
and service tests?
Yes, in the microservices pyramid.
Yeah, got it. Okay. At the service test layer, we take a look at the microservice self. We test all the things from the microservice in isolation. With mock dependency. And in the service so for instance, you have a feature. This is the login feature. Your login feature needs 3 different services. At the service test layer, we test every one of these 3 services in isolation. At the service integration layer, then we are testing that these 3 services, which are delivering the login features, are working correct. That means these 3 services then communicating with each others, and if necessary, to other microservices and to other components which are mocked or not. This depends on your testing strategy. This is the difference. At the service layer, we take a look at one dedicated service. At the service integration layer, we take a look at how the services are working together, which delivering one feature.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Tarun. Thanks, Rudolf. Rudolf, we have one more question. Regarding the commit in the deployment timeline of 15 minutes, how do we achieve exploratory testing as well within the timelines?
Yes.
This is a question by Vilas.
Yes, this is a good question. So, what not was our goal is that we are going to production without manual interference. Yeah. So what we had in our pipeline is that at the end of the pipeline, when we are in the user acceptance test stage, yeah, that we had this break, that we had this stop, yeah, and then some people get the message, yeah, so please do the exploratory testing. And when I'm talking about exploratory testing, this was not tests like for 15 minutes or so, yeah. This was only a quick check, yeah, that everything works, yeah, from the human perspective.
Thanks, Rudolph. Hope that answered the question, Vilas. Rajan, I can see your hand raised. Would you want to communicate? Meanwhile, we have another question, Rudolph. Which tools are used for mocking or service with virtualization? Rudolph, you are muted. I think you'll have to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Regarding which tools we are used for mocking in the, so we started with Mountebank, and then we recognized that doesn't fit for our needs, and then we switched to WireMock, and now we are using WireMock for all of our more or less virtualization stuff.
Okay, hope that answers. Another question, Rudolph. How to perform infrastructure testing and which tools can we use for this?
Okay. So, due to the fact that we used EC2 instances, Amazon Cloud, Docker container, and so on, we used a mix of inspec for verify if our components are configured correctly and that they are running correctly, and we used also what was the other? Come on. Give me 1 second, please.
Sure.
I have to check it. Yes, and then we used molecule for testing the Docker containers. And our strategy for using tools, is that we use open source tools.
Sure. Thank you, Rudolph. Let me just share my screen here. We do have a couple of more questions coming up, but then due to the time constraint, probably we can have Rudolph answer them or Microsoft Teams. Is that okay with you, Rudolph?
Yes, of course. So tell me where's the chat and I can answer the questions.
Sure. I'll help you offline with that.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that informative talk, Rudolph. We really enjoyed looking at the slides and the pyramid and all your explanations. Thank you so much for being a part of API Summit 2021.
It was a real pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so glad to have you with us. Audience, please, we will be posting this link. Please fill in your feedback for Rudolph talk, and please connect with him offline on LinkedIn if you want to know more about the topic or connect with him. Thank you so much, Rudolph. Without any delay, can I check if we have Vijesh with us or even Soumya?
Hi, Dipti. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clear, crystal clear. Let me quickly introduce you, Vijesh. So the next keynote topic that we have is API lifecycle automation using TestOps platform. We have Mutation from QualityKiosk with us. He has around 18 years of industry experience in strategy planning, marketing, business and product development, key account management, and pre-sales roles. He is a very varied skills, exemplary thought leadership person. He has made multiple hats and made many noteworthy contributions to the growth of Quality Kiosk. Vijesh, we are very happy to have you with us. Over to you. Can you try sharing your screen and can we have you on board?
Yeah, let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
So thank you, Dipti, for the wonderful introductions. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to various people who have joined from different areas. I'm very excited to get this opportunity to present in the API Testing Summit organized. Very quickly, Dipti has already introduced me. I'm based out of Singapore, looking after the entire Asian countries for our organization QualityKiosk. The topic for today that I would be throwing and sharing my experience is all about API lifecycle automation. And when we talk about lifecycle automation, I'm talking from a perspective of creation of an API. It starts from a specification document to it getting designed, developed, test, and then finally continuously monitored in production. And what we have been successfully delivering this API lifecycle automation is using our TestOps platform. So that's in the brief, the agenda for today that I would be presenting. Let me first begin with a little bit of insights into what we have been seeing our customers letting us know. So as an organization, QualityKiosk, we are engaged across 250 plus customers spread geographically across 25 plus countries. So has somebody changed the screening view? Are you able to see my presentation?
No, we are not able to. Can you please reshare your screen, Vitesh? Yeah, now we are able to see. Thank you.
Perfect. So when we are being working with all our 250 plus customers spread across 25 plus countries, one of the major strategic initiatives we have been observing is digital transformation. And to achieve these goals of digital transformation, the core underlining strategic initiative is API-driven strategy. Fundamentally, what we have observed across our customer base, that in the current model or the operations, you have to focus on technology, data, analytics, and cloud. And in this entire transformation from an API perspective, there are four critical elements that customers are struggling with. One, they're looking at streamlining the way they engage with customers, and hence how can you do omni-channel experience, digital lending, customer onboarding enabled journeys is where we are seeing. Second, how can you help us to launch our APIs faster and at the same time reduce the cost? The third area that we are seeing a lot of transformation happening is digital experience. Especially this is accelerated by the COVID pandemic, where digital happiness or digital success is becoming a very critical dimension when it comes to API. This has led our customers to look at developing new revenue streams to streamline their go-to-market strategies, and also API is the underlying philosophy driving innovations. So in the today's presentation that I would be sharing a little bit more insights is going to be on APIs in financial services. So one of the major critical verticals we have observed that API has fundamentally changed in the way the end users are interacting with financial services like banks, insurance, and so forth. One we have seen earlier, it was a closed model where the customer used to interact by using channels like web, mobile, IVR, or branch visits on the bank, to the open banking model where now digital access and digital ease of connection is becoming predominantly more critical. And what has changed for the banks is they no longer need to only support their existing channels, but they have to focus more on aggregators like Amazon, Flipkart, and various other social channels that has to come in. So that has further created complications when it comes into the API architecture. What we have observed broadly that across our base, there are different kinds of APIs which requires different kinds of strategy, different kinds of tools, different kinds of methodologies to automate. One interesting area that we are being seen focusing is the internal APIs. The internal APIs is the medium through which your current end users or end employees are connecting through mobile web, but has to interact with your enterprise applications. Second, we have been seeing banks launch open web APIs to increase their market reach, increase their customer base. But the third area that we are seeing fundamentally a major interaction happening is business to business APIs, where the banks now have to interact with business partners, their distribution partners and suppliers, and these partners define what should be your quality metrics, what should be your experience KPIs, what should be your functional KPIs and so forth. And to do this, there are fundamentally four areas that we are seeing our customers face a lot of challenge. One is on the business side. What should be an external API? What should get demarcated as an internal API? Second, how do I have the right kind of people or the kind of partners we have? What kind of skill set is required in this API economy? The third area is the process. DevSecOps, Agile, it's been there for multiple years, but now looking at the business objective of going faster to the market in this API microservices architecture, how should I leverage the DevSecOps and Agile philosophies? And in the financial services segment, another critical area that we are seeing is the regulators. So for India, we have RBI. For Indonesia, we have OJK. Similarly, when we are operating at Singapore, we have MAS. There are also regulatory pressures on our end customers like banks, insurance to adhere to certain basic fundamentals related to security testing, optimization, and speed. So that's what we have been seeing on the API in the financial services. Just a brief experience, this Testos platform that we are going to present. What we have also seen across our customer base, to name a few, different customers or different banks are adopting different. Some have invested into microservices, where you have platforms like MuleSoft, Google APG, and Swagger. But a large chunk of customers are also building their own in-house platforms or in-house API gateways or in-house API platforms, which is based on REST API and SOAP API. And there's a third layer of our customers who are tying up on service-oriented architecture. So when we are looking at API lifecycle automation, one of the areas that we as an organization is focusing on, how can you address on various architectures automation? So moving ahead, what is the kind of KPIs that we are looking from a lifecycle automation? So what we have observed that our customers are struggling with certain important metrics. So one, how can I reduce my cost to run an API? Second is the quality. When we are looking at this current age of digital transformation, customers expect a lot. So is there a mechanism or is there a methodology or is there a platform tool or a process that can fundamentally help us to reduce the incidents per API, can improve the code quality? Can you ensure that I have to launch every week at least 4 to 5 APIs? Can you help us to automate the entire test coverage? Or also what we are observing, there's a lot of APIs that the customers already have, but nobody's observing, are they being used and how are they being monetized? So these are fundamentally the KPIs or the metrics that customer has been asking us. Do you have an answer for automation this? So this is where we have developed our own platform, QRace. And if you, just for a simplicity sake, the Q basically stands for business quality. The R stands for robotics. The A is for AI-driven analytics. The C stands for cloud, and the E stands for experience. And fundamentally, using our Testos platform, we have been able to commit certain SLAs to our customers. One, we have been able to achieve a 95% of the entire lifecycle automated. Second, we are able to promise a zero showstopper defect. Third, from a business perspective, very critical, we have been able to accelerate the launches into the market. Last but not the least, on the entire thing is the velocity or how the squads can do more work because of the automation. But fundamentally, we have to also be cognizant about the offside, where fundamentally we have been able to commit metrics is we have been able to help our customers reduce their droppers up to 20% and fundamentally also keep the CFO happy by reducing the total cost of ownership. So the next question that is going to be, how are we doing this? What's QRace? What's this testers platform? That I'll go into a little bit of more in depth. So the first area that we are trying our customers to answer is how do I ensure my APIs deliver business value? So we are having a management pressure that we have to launch a lot of APIs to see that we are able to continuously go to the market faster. So is there some kind of a framework? Is there some kind of a mechanism in which you can help us understand what we should move first? So this is basically for the financial services and the banking. We have created a 2x2 grid. Broadly, the APIs are classified into financial and non-financial APIs. The second critical matrix is incoming APIs and outgoing APIs. So why this is critical is when you're looking at it from a perspective of incoming APIs, then the quality, the performance becomes more important. When you look at it from an outgoing API, the security aspects changes quite a lot, confidentiality and so forth. So broadly, what we have observed that any APIs which has got a financial impact and is incoming, they should be prioritized first. And typically, these are APIs related to card transactions, finance alerts, e-banking, mutual funds, life insurance, general insurance, and so forth. The second bucket we have seen is financial APIs, but are outgoing, where retail banking, account openings, local management, and so forth. The third area that we believe should be prioritized is incoming APIs, but non-financials, like name, date of birth, validations, you have multi-credit bureau, and so forth. Last but not the least, the last objective that the customer should pick up is outgoing APIs that are non-financials. So in each of these buckets, the objective is also very different. For the incoming financial, it's about seamless, secure, and traceability. While for the outgoing financials, the major focus is seamless and secure. Because in an outgoing API, from a client perspective, they are onboarding on Amazon or many such similar ecosystem partners. You will not be able to trace what happens internally to it. So that's the first area that we are trying to address. The second question that typically our customers ask us, where do I start? So we have set up digital API factory, and in this digital API factory, what we're trying to bring is best practices, process, and efficiency, right from creation of an API to getting it designed, developed, and implemented, and finally, we're helping it to be launched into the production faster. And to do this entire process of discovery to go live, we have certain best practices, best methods, and technologies defined. So fundamentally, when we are engaging, we have set up a center of practice on API lifecycle automation, and we help the clients understand what are the objectives across business stakeholders, across development vendors, across their infrastructure partners, across their business stakeholders. Then what should be the automation factory? What kind of governance would be required in an API lifecycle? What should be your infra and architecture optimization? Very critical. And last but not the least, that we have been also helping our customers in upskilling and transforming what kind of people and talent management would be required when we have to drive this API lifecycle automation. So that's one area that we focus. The second thing that the digital API factory automates is the various phases of the entire API lifecycle. Starts from the planning and strategy, moves into having the right practices for the design, moving into the development. Because you think from this perspective, you will have your own in-house development teams and you will have multiple partners. Can you standardize what kind of methodologies and what kind of practices they should follow? Moving on to the testing, then comes the deployment, then comes the security. I'll just spend a couple of minutes on security. Very importantly, SAST and DAST, how it can be integrated earlier in the life cycle of API. So we have been hearing about shift left and shift right. On the shift left, how are you able to use the power of technology and processes to see that becomes a compelling reason. But last but not the least, the APIs needs to also be monitored in production, because when you're looking at creating a product backlog, how your end user is actually using the API, what kind of challenges they are facing, what kind of functional metrics and non-functional metrics, it should go as a feedback back into the planning and the strategy. So that's the entire cycle that we have automated in our QRES accelerator. So the next question that customers ask us, what should be my key technology, tools and processes do we need when you want to do this entire API lifecycle automation? So here, I would just be broadly sharing some of the critical things. So fundamentally, our platform is an IP-led SDLC agnostic. We engage with our customers, look at their tool stack, look at what have they already invested in their development, in their testing and their monitoring aspects, and integrate it together into a framework. Some of the interesting features that I want to highlight today for the entire audience is one, API catalog. What this feature is typically helping us do is, even before the development starts, we are able to do something called as API specification or contract testing. So fundamentally, we have created an automation solution that reads the entire API specs document and starts creating the entire QA assets, which is the test cases, the test data, as well as the automation scripts. And the APIs can change. Some could be on JSON, some can be on Postman, and so forth. So on this API catalog, it's helping us see the entire visualization end to end. So how did the API do in the development? What was the code analysis? How did the API perform in the integration environment from a QA perspective? How did it do from a user's perspective? Because as an end user, if I'm trying to do a fund transfer, all these APIs integrate together. So which we also refer in our language something called as call chain testing. So there, the APIs also needs to integrate with your enterprise or COTS application. So how's the quality there? And finally, if you see here, we are closely also picking up metrics from the production and trying to create a complete visibility end to end. Security and performance is also on a single view for our entire customer base to see how is my API doing overall. The second challenge that we have observed, functional testing, performance testing, security, UI, UX, this requires different testers, but more importantly, this requires different automation scripts, and maintenance and continuous upgradation of the scripts is a major trouble that we have been seeing. So what we have patented as an organization, we have created an automation script that can run both functional and performance together. Now, what this is helping our customers are for that we are using simple technologies like JMeter or Postman, and the same automation scripts validates the functional verification points as well as from the performance perspective. Now, you imagine for large enterprise customer that we are working with, the headache and the time constraint that is required to maintain humongous amounts of automation scripts has reduced quite drastically. So that's why we are leveraging the power of technology by having one Windows automation script. The third area that we have been focusing is this only specific to API? What happens to my COTS applications? Do I need to change the automation technologies? Do I need to change my entire framework? So no, it's a singular platform that used across, and you may have various applications. It can be legacy like AS400, mainframe, and monolithic, or you may have your different applications which are cloud native and more digital, or you have invested in certain of your own in-house API gateways and so forth. So this platform has got inbuilt service virtualization. It's basically an orchestration layer that allows you to check from all aspects of API, UI, analytics, performance, experience, and security. And if you see below, this Testos platform that we have created, it's completely tool agnostic. Depending upon the familiarity, depending upon the skill set of your testers or your partners, we can pick and choose, and the platform is ready to use. Moving on quickly, the last area that I want to just focus quickly is on the observability piece, where we are also measuring what was the validation of the APIs before the go live in the pre-production, and then when the API got launched, what actually happened in production. So there we are capturing KPIs, various KPIs from technical errors, which is nothing but issues that the end customers have faced, which is related to code, or it could be a business error, it could be a performance metrics of response time, and we are comparing, and this goes as an input into my platform to define what should be the next coverage or the next regression cycle that should run to address these needs. So that's very interesting that we have observed. Last but not the least, customers have been asking us, you know, people come and people go, but is it possible that your platform can embed best practices from an agility perspective? So fundamentally, when we are looking at the entire life cycle of digital delivery, what the platform does, it already starts at the requirement stage to create a traceability matrix. It already starts creating the API specification testing. As the developers are designing, the contract testing and the test data automation is created. And once the API gets developed, we are allowing our customers to do 100% testing in the sprint by using service virtualization. And very importantly, we are able to capture the performance metrics upfront. And then we move into the testing phase where the APIs are getting integrated together to deliver the end customer value. So we have call chain testing, cross-browser, and DASP to see from the security. And once the APIs are deployed in production, very interestingly, we are doing a shift right testing by using concepts like A by B, closed user group, and kiosk engineering. And finally, all the feedbacks of how the users are interacting by using feedbacks on social sites, the call centers. We are collecting all this information and putting it as a continuous feedback to the entire requirements design and development. So it's a continuous loop that we are following using our TestOps platform. Just to give a brief insight, what are the various models that you require when you're looking at from a TestOps? It has to be cloud ready. In today's world, it's impossible if you are not having a cloud-ready platform. It's fundamentally an orchestration layer. It's SDLC agnostic because in our enterprise customers like banks and insurance, you will continue to have waterfall, you will continue to have rapid application development, and the new age technologies or the new age platforms would be on Agile. So one of the fundamental concerns and one of the fundamental requests that we have been getting from our customers, is there a mechanism or a way of getting an SDLC agnostic? It has to have AI, ML use cases inbuilt. And when I say it is on the regression side, auto healing, test data virtualization, self-healing, looking at the velocity at which changes are requested from a competitive landscape, from a business perspective. Can the scripts self-heal by themselves? Can they look at the change that has happened on the various aspects of the code and improve the coverage from that perspective, one script and so forth. On the services side, we have different modules. Not every API or every application will require the end-to-end. So it should allow you to test from an in-sprint perspective, from a production verification, from an early performance, and it should be easily integratable with the current tool stack and frameworks that our customers are having on the DevOps pipeline, or the smart insights, or the business view. So we have 150 plus ready to use integrations already available on our platform. So moving ahead, the next question that we have observed our customers inquiring is, what should my API governance look like in such a complicated architecture and environment? So fundamentally, there are 7 key pillars that we design when we engage. One is we help on setting up the business value workshops or streams, helping to design what APIs and how should you engage with your various partners on seeing that visibility and automation be a mindset. The project management side, the project governance, technology. When you're looking at going into whether you should go for a MuleSoft or you should go for a Google APG, or should I create my own in-house API gateways, or when you're investing into a lot of digital transformation, other platforms, what kind of an architecture should I go for? What should be your source code management standards? What kind of branching strategies? So all these areas, you need to have your best practices, templates an artifact created, and that's something that we bring as a part of our QRS portfolio, the entire API governance layer. Moving ahead, the last area is where is the talent to do all this is going on. It's been something that we have been working for the last 9 months, and the way we have handled this is we have launched our own university, which is QualityKiosk University, and we have created different courses, different skills. And one of the fundamental questions that we have been receiving internal to us, also external from end customers, what kind of skills are you going to require when you're talking about API lifecycle automation? So broadly, there are 6 distinctive skills that we are going to observe. One is we see, sorry, hello, is somebody saying something?
No, Vijesh, I think you can get it.
Okay, thank you. So where we are seeing in the market that from a talent perspective, sooner or later, specialized resources would be required. One would be a product quality analyst, and especially when you're looking at omni-channels, digital lending, customer onboarding and so forth, you will need specialists to understand the end-to-end journey right from the requirements to the production. A cloud reliability engineer, which is another very growing aspect. Interestingly, it will be shocking for many people to observe, but the UI UX testers and their ability to create automation is also going to be very critical. That's what we're seeing. We also see a role called as a QA scientist growing on, and in this API lifecycle automation, if you cannot use the power of machine learning and AI, it's going to be very difficult to achieve your business goals. A very recent, in the last 3 months, we have been observing is the site reliability engineers. So SRE engineers is becoming more and more predominant, and that's the skill set that we are trying to build as a university. And last but not the least is a full stack tester. We have heard about full stack developers and SDAT, but very interestingly, where we see the market moving to is a full stack tester. And in this tester, he should be able to do all the 3: functional, performance, and customer experience testing. So on the digital talent side, the way we have addressed this, we have set up this QualityKiosk University, which is open for our internal employees as well as for our large customers. Right now, we have around 250 plus client projects where we are upskilling even their people. And as of the moment, we have churned out around 1400 plus skilled resources on all these various skill sets that we are seeing in the API lifecycle automation. So that's on the digital IT growth. So when you're looking at the entire API lifecycle automation, you will need to start from first deciding what APIs should get automated. You will need to set up an API factory. You will need to crack on the process and the tool side, set up the factory governance, and also create a people and a talent management skill set that helps you to optimize. The last slide that I want to present today is just one of the case studies that we have. This is a very large universal bank in India, and they won the banking license in 2015, and we have worked across multiple years on various aspects. Right now, we are helping them drive this goal of creating a 1,000 plus API factory, which is completely powered using the QRS DevOps platform from last year onwards. Yep, I just now opened the entire forum for questions.
Sure, thanks, Vijesh. We have a couple of questions which have come in. Does anybody want to interact live? Would you want to unmute and talk? Can you please raise your hands if you would want to?
Yeah, hi Vijesh, Prasad here.
Yeah, hi Prasad.
Yeah. What is the difference between contract test and unit test?
So in the contract testing, if you ask me, what happens is the unit testing, as you understand, is done by the developer themselves, right? In the contract testing, we are looking at majorly like a smoke test, Prasad, in a simplistic language. So that's what we are testing from a contract specification perspective.
Okay, thank you.
Puneet also has a question, Vijesh. He's asking Agile and Waterfall same time SDLC agnostic. This is a little confusing. Could you please explain more?
Okay. So what is happening is when I'm looking at a lifecycle automation, the way the developer methodology, you will have agile methodology, which is like iterative development, and you have then the waterfall development where everything gets developed, and then you move into testing, and then you move into go live. So the problem statement that we have from our customers is, do I need to change my automation approach? Do I need to change my automation framework? Do I need to change my automation methodology from a testing perspective, depending on the SDLC methodology? So that's what we have been trying to work for the last couple of years on getting this resolved. So it's agnostic. Automation is automation. The way the development methodology keeps on revolving, your automation script should be able to be reused across. I hope, Puneet, I could answer your question.
Sure, Puneet. Puneet, if you still have follow-up questions, you can post them. Thanks, Vijesh. There's another question. Prasad asked it. He's also asking, is it possible to call it hybrid?
What is possible to call hybrid?
Hello. Hi, Vijesh. Puneet this side.
Yeah, Puneet.
And during the development, whether we go with the agile or whether we go for the waterfall, so how are you going to club both the model at the same time? So do you have different teams or some different? That's the thing. Either we go for the agile, either we go for the waterfall. So that's why I am a bit confused.
Okay, so let me put it like this, Puneet. See, I'm looking at it from an outside-in view. So I have automation scripts. If you're going to move in an agile, you will do in-sprint development. So when you're doing in-sprint development, the automation has to shift left. So what I'm trying to say here is that automation per se does not change. The applicability of automation in a waterfall-driven methodology and an agile-driven methodology, my platform is agnostic to it. So I can use the same automation for in-sprint. I can use the same automation for the contract testing. I'm using it same for your integration. And then I'm also using this automation for your production testing. So that's the basic challenge I'm trying to resolve.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Puneet.
Sure, we have a couple of them raised hands, I guess. Neha, you want to unmute and ask your question? Snehal, are you there? Would you want to ask? Meanwhile, Rigank has this question. What is quality scientist and what is the focus of the role?
Okay. So the quality scientist basically needs to focus on 3 areas. One, he should be an expert on data modeling, and second is the data science, and the third area is he should have a lot of focus on the machine learning. Now, this is technology side. How are you going to interpret, collect this information or data from various sources? What I mean by sources, production, you have infra monitoring, you have call centers, and then you have your developer defects and production defects. How you look at this entire set of information and get your requirements, create your automation scripts, get your test coverage updated is what the QA scientist is.
Cool. There's another question. What tool you use for service virtualization testing?
That's the interesting thing. So if you carefully listen to the platform that we have created, it's actually tool agnostic. We are using JMeter, and we have created our own extensions to it to do the service virtualization. Because in service virtualization, you have technologies like SmartBear, but another challenge that we observe from an end customer perspective is the cost. So it's a combination of using your own in-house service virtualization extension that we have created combined with SmartBear.
Thanks, Vijesh. Maybe the last question. What is the technology stack that are used for this solution?
Okay, so there are various technologies. I think in one of the slides I showed you. So depending upon the areas, so For the production side, we are using ELK. For the functional and the performance scripts, we are using JMeter and Postman. On the security side, we are using ZAP or 35. So depending upon what we're doing, it's a call chaining of various tools. What we have done is, from an end user perspective, it's just one platform framework. They don't need to worry about all this integration.
Okay, we have a very extensive question. You have mentioned about the full stack QA. So in full stack QA, you mean to say manual plus automation, or just manual only with front end plus API plus backend plus mobile and basics of automation? Or in full stack QA, is it compulsory to be expert in automation as well?
Okay, so let me again try to explain this. Full stack tester by default has to come from an automation background. That's one. However, he should have an aptitude to do functional, performance, security, UI, UX all together. So typically testers are designated as functional testers, performance testers, and security testers. Full stack QA cuts across all the three. While what you're on the technology, obviously you should know API, backend, mainframe, and so forth. That's why it's a very exciting space, and we believe in the entire software testing market. More and more, you will be left with only full stack QAs.
Sure. We have more questions, Vijay. Probably you can answer them on chat also. I'll take one last question. What is cloud reliability engineering? Is orchestration rundeck a tool?
Okay, so orchestration rundeck is not the tool. When I mean by the word orchestration, what the desktops platform does, it's an orchestrator. It executes all the QA from a requirement, from a dev, from an SIT, UAT, and a prod perspective. Cloud reliability engineer. So what has been a very big paradigm shift, especially accelerated by COVID. Earlier, it was all about zero functional defect in production. Now, it is more about performance and customer experience. So, as the word reliability means, how reliable is my API? So, if today I have 50 end users using my API, tomorrow I have 200 users using it, will they get the same consistent functional and performance experience? So that's reliability. And because most of the customers are moving to open architecture, and you will see open banking, open insurance, even the telecom and the automotive world, is going to be on cloud. So reliability on cloud is cloud reliability engineering.
I think we have a lot of other questions, Vijesh. If you can spare a couple of minutes to answer them on chat, we'll be really grateful. Durga and Abdul, you raised your hands. Probably you wanted to ask your questions, but because of the time limit, probably we'll have to move on. Please feel free to connect with Vijesh on LinkedIn, or please put your questions on chat. I'm sure he'll be more than happy to help you with answers. Thank you so much, Vijesh. It was really a pleasure to hear you out. Is my screen visible?
Yes, Dipti.
Yes. Audience, please help us know the feedback for Vijesh. We have posted this link on the chat channel also. Also, thank you so much, Vijesh, for joining us. It was a very extensive and very informative talk. And thank you for taking us through all your slide decks. It was a pleasure listening to you.
Thank you, Dipti, so much, and please feel free to reach out with any queries on LinkedIn or any of our websites, and I'll be more than happy to answer the questions. Thank you, everyone.
Sure. Thanks, Vijesh, for being accommodated. Can I please call upon Aditya sir at this point of time? Our next segment is CPWST Hall of Fame.
Yes, Dipti, I'm here. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Yeah. By the way, Vijesh, very nice session. Thank you so much. Indeed, very wonderful here. Okay, so
thank you.
Awesome to have you with us, and also Rudolph's session was very nice. So guys, are you ready for the next session, which is all about CPWST Hall of Fame? Can I share the screen, guys?
Yes, sir.
I'm just trying to share. So looks like my machine is kind of conked up. I'm not able to share. So, is there? Okay, Deepti, can you basically bring up the API site, because WST Hall of Fame is there? I can actually look at that and speak there. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Aditya, do you want me to share the screen? Or do you have some presentation which you would like to share?
Yeah, if you have, basically go to the OneDrive, you will probably see that there is a presentation there.
Okay, I am in the folder API Summit.
And there you will see Aditya introduction slide, and there is a CPWST Hall of Fame. Can you go there, please? Yeah. Alright guys, so while Deepti is showing and while Harsh is going to bring up the slide deck, guys, this is where we have something very special. It is
Aditya, are you there? I think we lost you.
I'm not able to hear Adi.
Yes, I think he got dropped off. Guys, till he comes back, so basically CPWST is one of our very esteemed certifications. This is for the web testing part of it. I think all of these are the associates who have cleared the CPWST certification. This is mainly meant for felicitating the associates from various organizations worldwide who cleared the CPWST in very good remarks. So congratulations to all of you. I hope we all have you here. Abhay, do we have you? Hi Abhay, are you around? Yes, we have Aditya sir. Over to you, sir.
About that, yeah. So guys, from the entire list of WST Hall of Fame, are there people around who can basically raise up their hands? I think.
Adi, would you like to share, or should I try once again?
No, don't worry. I think I can look at the things. I think Deepti, go up. I know that. Yeah, Achin was there. Achin, are you there? Achin said that he's going to join. Achin, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. So, Achin, can you basically talk about your experience on how did it go and how did you feel about the CPWST? How challenging was it, and how do you feel being part of CPWST Hall of Fame?
Yeah, it's really nice. Thank you so much for this recognition. And also, if I talk about my CPWST journey, it was wonderful. I learned a lot, especially in 3 days, and especially having mentor like Aditya. It was awesome, and we covered like Rest Assured, Postman, and Karate. So overall, it was a great learning. And in terms of learning, also there was especially I could recall that there was a rocket chat example. It was like I've never seen someone doing these kind of exercises in 3 days certification or training courses. So it was a really wonderful experience.
Thank you so much, Achin. And how was your exam? So was it tough? Would you like to recommend people for this API testing exam?
Yeah, I mean, if you have done your training seriously, then it was not that tough. But yes, it includes both like theoretical, where we have multiple choice question, and the practical part where you have to script on Rest Assured, on Postman and Karate. So, I mean, it's tough, but if you have taken the learnings from whatever you have taught Aditya, then I mean, you should be able to clear it.
Thank you so much, Achin. And warm congratulations from all of us for being on this CPWST Hall of Fame page. Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Yeah, good, great. And from the other list, is there anybody else? So, Sridevi, Ajit, Pooja, Prachi, Ronal, Abhay, is anybody there? Yeah, I think Abhay.
Aditya,
Yeah,
I am with Gautam Kandanuru.
Gautam, please go ahead. We would like to hear from you, please.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm very happy to be part of this testing summit meeting and to be under the Hall of page. So to be like I feel,
Gautam, your voice is cracking. We are not able to hear you properly.
Yeah. Is it fine now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So before taking the CPWST course, I have different perspective on API testing. Like I don't have much experience on this. Then when I took the CPWST course, this course is very joyfully and it's very technically, as my mentor Aditya, he took this course in a very specialized way, which covers all technologies such as rest assured, karate, cucumber, and mainly it deals with the real-time applications such as rocket chat, and we have seen how APIs are flowing from the back end to the on screens, and yeah, it's very good experience. When after my CPWST course, like I felt like what the real API testing, which can be done in my real projects, and I'm implementing now these skills in the real project in FIS global company. And when I come to the examination, so what we learned in course is little challenged in the real-time practical exam because it has some tricky questions to deal with the get or post operations, something like API testing. And if you come for the rest assured framework, we have learned how to for the jars in the framework to be implemented in API testing, how to deal with karate framework. Before taking CPWST, I felt like Cucumber is only for the UI. But when I take the CPWST course, then I felt like karate also can be used with API testing. So it's very useful to the CPWST course, and I felt very happy to take this course, which leads my testing career to the further growth. Thanks, Aditya. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Really, very well passed the exam and all. So we also have Maheshwari, then we have Deep and Pooja. So can we ask Maheshwari to share her experience about the API testing program in CPWST? How did it go and how was the exam?
Aditya, thanks for giving us recognition into API Summit 2021. So basically, I did this course long back, but still this I again got this Hall of Fame today. So I am thankful for it. So I recommend this course CPWST to all the manual tester or whoever want to start a career into automation at the first time. Learning a API through the trainer like Cushion will add a lot of knowledge, and you can get exposure like solving real cases in the tuition, and you can gain a more knowledge by asking a question anytime after the course to the Cushion. And I definitely recommend this course to all of you. Like at least once we can invest one time and can get certified and can get a knowledge, and that knowledge can gain us to get a good position in job. That's it, Aditya.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maheshwari. We also have Deep and Pooja. So Deep, would you like to share your experience?
So regarding the CPWST examination, so I was not aware about any such kind of certification that exists in the market, but one of my friend, I got the reference of Adi, that he is one who is providing some training, and there is a certification CPWST in the field of API. So with his recommendation, that is Manish, I think Adi knows him. So with his recommendation, I just joined this program, and the program was wonderful. Complete 3 day was earlier I was thinking 8 to 9 hours sitting for continuous 3 day would be a boring one, but the interest, the way that Aditya delivered the things, he let us know about some area which I was not aware of, although I was working on the application which was a microservice based architecture. So I was doing a simple kind of API testing in that, but the area covered by Aditya was the one that I got to know for the first time, and the different kind of approaches, tools like Postman, Rest Assured, and Karate, I got the chance to learn them. And regarding the examination, I would say theoretical exam is the normal one because the person who is working in ID aware about all those things. But yes, the practical exam, when I saw first time my exam, so I was thinking what kind of questions was there in the examination. Then coolly for 5 minutes. I just read out all the exam questions, and then I got to know that these are the very basic logic that we need to apply to resolve these problems. And I just attempted my examination and then pass out good exam. So thank you, Aditya. Thanks for the wonderful guidance that I got from you. And right now I'm just applying all those things in my project. So thanks for the things that you have provided to us. Thank you. Hello.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your experience. Aditya, are you around? Thank you, Deep. Thanks for joining in.
Alright, so is Pooja there? Pooja, would you like to share your experience?
Yes. Hello, good afternoon. The CPWST training was given by Cushion around a year back. I took it. I really liked the training. We got to learn a whole lot of technologies, and it was all practical implementation and not just theoretical. But while even during the training, we had a lot of practical examples. And the exam was also quite similar. The thing is, within a stipulated time, you have to really code everything, write the solution for all the APIs and everything, get the responses and submit your exam. So it was really, I would say not, it was challenging, but because of the time limit, but yeah, it was quite practical, and I was easily able to implement those in my project after the training. So I would really recommend if your company is using those APIs and REST or SOAP and you want to really start automating them, and then I think you should go for the certification. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm looking forward to more trainings from Agile Testing Alliance, and yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Pooja. So I think I would like to applaud everybody who is part of the CPWST Hall of Fame. This is one of its kind certification, and I thought that it would be great to felicitate all of these guys who have done really well in this API Summit. So this is it from my side. Deeply, you want to take the quiz now? Please go ahead. Okay.
And congratulations for all of you who have been a part of the Hall of Fame. So quickly, the next section will be the fun quiz section, audience. So please join in Slido, the same drill that we did in the beginning of the event. Please join slido.com and have hash API Summit 2021.
If you want to basically show your slide deck, yeah.
So we have around 7 questions, audience. This is spread across, very generic. We have a couple of API questions also embedded in this. There is 30 seconds timer for all of these questions. Please stick to your slido.com and answer these questions. After 30 seconds, it will automatically go to the next question. Again, the fastest who answers the correct one will get considered and will be at the top of the leaderboard. This is the quiz for which there are awards which were mentioned in the beginning of the program. So
if you want to go to the next slide, I think we were on the Mutation slide. Please. Yeah, please.
So please brace yourself with slido.com. So we have people coming in. Slido.com hash API Summit 2021. I'll just wait for 2 more minutes so that we have enough people joining us then.
Can you share the link again, Deepti, in the chat?
Sure.
It is slido.com, and when you go to slido.com, just type API Summit 2021. Okay. So Deepti, there are right now around 34 users. Let's wait for another 1 minute.
For sure. The link is shared again on chat. We have 39.
And this one basically carries a prize. So guys, get ready, join. Whoever is there, please don't miss a chance to join now.
have 50 people. Can I start?
Yes,
just a second. Actually, I am just typing this. It is sli.do. It is moving to that link, not slido.com. I don't know why. What's happening?
Just go to slido.com, slido.com from your mobile itself. Yeah, that's it. Alright, we have got 58 people now. 63. Yeah.
Can I start?
Yes, Deepti, please go.
Okay, let's begin with the first question. This is the first question. The timer has begun. Entomology is the science that studies what of these? Birds, insects, animals, or plants? Entomology. 10 seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And yes, we are done with this question. So we have got like 72% of them saying it's insects, which is right. Moving to the next one. Here is our leaderboard. Right now we have Bharat, Rohit, Abhinav. So these are basically the fastest, right? Okay, the next question. Which of the following animals is not nocturnal? As in, is not awake in the nights. So it's sheep, skunk, leopard, or tiger. Most of our questions are on animals audience because we are targeting worldwide audience. So we have kept it as generic as possible. And this is your best way to redeem 1000 INR gift vouchers. So 2 and 1. So we are done with this question. Sheep is what most of them says. That's right. Well, that's right. Thank you. Let's move to the next one. Okay, the leaderboard has slightly changed. Soumya, Pallavi, Sumit is leading right now. Moving to the next one. What is the first thing a caterpillar usually eats after it's born? Is it grass, other bugs, is it Cheerios, or its own eggshell? Okay, we have around 85% who said its own eggshell. Well, that's right. Good, we have very knowledgeable audience with us. Let's see the next question. What's a baby rabbit called? Is it a doe, kit, buck, hare? Timer is moving. Three, 2, and 1. So it's called a kit. Yes, that's the right answer. Most of them have got the right one. Again, looking at the leaderboard, it's Soumya, Sumit, and Abhinav who are in the first 3. Buck up the rest of them. It's the fastest that works quickly. Moving on to the next question. What is the protocol used in REST? Is it JMX, XML, HTTP, or SOAP? What is the protocol that is used in REST? Left with 8 seconds more. 3, 2, and 1. Well, we have 84% saying the right answer. HTTP is the right answer. Again, the leaderboard changes slightly. Abhinav, Arun, Pallavi are leading. Moving to the next one. Default port of Apache is, what is the default port that can be used to connect to Apache? Is it 3306, 80, 50, 5672, 6379? Last 10 seconds left to commit on your answers. 73% say that's 80. That's absolutely right. Okay, we have Arun, Shashank, and Ravindra. This is toppled down the leaderboard. Great. We have next question. .move extension, MOV extension, refers usually to what kind of files? Is it image, animation files, or movie files, or audio files, or MS Office documents? .mov. The timer is running. We have last 6 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and we're done. 93% have the right answer. It is the movie file or animation files. So on the leaderboard, we have Arun, Shashank, and Ravindra on the top. That's great. I think it's 1 minute 5 seconds is phenomenal. Okay, next question. What does EPROM stand for? EPROM. Memory. Or is it every person requires one mind? Timer running. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We still have very knowledgeable people, which is the right. 86% of you said erasable, programmable, read-only memory, which is the right answer. So yes, we have the leaderboard up. Shashank, Ravindra, and Arun. Great results. 1 minute 58 seconds is again very appreciable. Thank you so much, audience, for joining us for a fun quiz. Hope you all had fun. We have the leaderboard marks with us. We will soon get in touch with the winners. Thank you so much for taking part. Aditya, can I have you here? So do we take a break now?
Yes, so Deepti will take a break. I think we are coming back at around 3:10. So guys, in 8 minutes, you can be here, Deepti, or I'll be moving to track 2. So let's check whether Unmesh is there. Unmesh, are you around?
Meanwhile, audience, we will be distributing to track 1, track 2 now. Please feel free to choose your interested topics and you can migrate among the links. I think the links have been sent already. We will try resending it. Please choose whichever track, whichever topic interests you, and you can join that particular speaker or that particular topic sessions. You're free to migrate whenever at any point of time. Stay with us. We still have a whole lot of afternoon with very interesting topics coming forward.
Umesh, welcome. How are you feeling now? Yesterday you were not well, so hopefully things are better now with you.
Yes, Aditya, it's much better. Much better. It's the side effect of the vaccine.
Yeah. So things are better now. I was worried whether you would be able to make it or not. So glad to have you. Alright, so I'll be going to track 2 because that is the designated track for me to manage. Deepti would be around here or maybe some other host, so I'll move out and the session starts at 3:10. We have made you presenter now. You should be able to check whether you can share the screen or not and you should be all set. I'll leave this meeting now. Wish good luck and thank you so much for being our speaker.
Yeah, thanks Aditya. Thank you. Good luck.
Yeah.
Hi Umesh, welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi Deepti. Let me know if this font okay.
I think it can be a little bigger.
Yeah, can you increase the font size?
Yeah, I'll do that. which is better?
This is good for me. Hopefully, the audience, please let us know if this is clear, if this is readable. Yes, this is sure. Thank you. We have a quick 5 minutes break, audience. If you want to take a quick sip of water, quick break, please help yourself. We'll correctly start at 3:10. Unish, I will be sharing the screen for just a couple of minutes. I'll quickly introduce you and give it over to you.
Yeah, sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, audience. You've been great and you've been with us for the whole of afternoon. Here we have the late afternoons again spread across with many varied topics from luminaries being spoke about. These are again we're split into track 1 and track 2. We have speakers talking about different levels of API and different work arrangements on that across both the tracks. This will be 30 minutes talks. Please feel free to look at the schedule and choose your interested topics. So here we start with the track 1. Please pour in your questions if you have any on the chats. We'll take it up in the last 5 minutes of the talk. Or if you really want, if you have something which is really pressing and you want to pick it up, you can raise your hands. We'll still try to call you on board and have an interactive session. Let me, without any delay, let me call upon our first speaker for the track 1. We have the first topic to be automated testing of Graphql APIs. Umesh is a technology-focused IT professional with rich, vast experience in leveraging software engineering, agile software development, test automation, and DevOps methodologies. He's also an author and technical reviewer on multiple books and technologies like Selenium and Appium. He has been with us even before, and he is very powerful speaker. I'm very glad to have you with us, Unmesh. Over to you.
Hey, thanks, Dipti. Let me share my screen. All right. Okay, so thanks, Dipti, for a generous introduction, and I'm really glad to be part of API Testing Summit 2021. I would like to thank Pallavi and Aditya giving me this opportunity, and thanks everybody for joining the session. And I hope you're safe and sound in this pandemic time. I'll be talking about GraphQL and how we test GraphQL using some of the popular testing tools. So this session is really one-on-one session, which means we'll look at GraphQL at an introductory or beginner's level, what GraphQL is and how it works, what are the important terms in GraphQL, and then we look at how we can test it, what are different options available to test GraphQL APIs, and then we'll play with some of these tools and show you a quick demo about this. So GraphQL, or before I start GraphQL, let's understand the history of API. So APIs are there for a long time, right? And right, starting from Purva to the latest specification, which is GPRC. So over the time, different API architecture styles have been emerged in the software engineering field, and each of them provide different patterns for standardizing the data exchange. Let's say in 1999, SOAP was the most popular API standard, and a lot of SOA, which is the service-oriented architecture applications, were using SOAP. And then in 2000, REST architecture style was published, and then it got popular around that time. So the choices that we have today, they also raise endless debate, which architectural style is best and which should we use. I think as the whole the software development paradigm evolves, these debates will happen and new styles will come. But today, many API consumers, they kind of refer REST as REST in peace, and they cheer for GraphQL, because GraphQL is kind of emerging as one of the popular standards for, at least for mobile development or microservices architecture. But that does not mean that GraphQL is the end. There is a GPRC also coming in. So today we mostly focus on the GraphQL, which is kind of gaining a lot of popularity amongst the developers because of the simplicity and the productivity that it offers for the front-end development community. So what is GraphQL? GraphQL is a query language for API. You can think about a SQL language that we use for querying databases. It is similar to a query language that you can use for the API. And it was built by Facebook in 2012, and then it was open source in 2015. So why Facebook kind of created GraphQL? So back in 2012, the Facebook mobile app, was using the REST-based, API specification to kind of render the customer or user experience. And around that time, they were using, different API endpoints, REST API endpoints to populate things like posts, likes, comments. So the app used to make so many API calls, and then they used to filter out, do aggregation, and then kind of render the UI with the data. And this kind of slowed down the performance of their application. If you remember, around 2012, the Facebook app was very slow and it used to crash a lot. So Facebook engineers kind of spent a lot of their time to figure out what's the best way to fetch the data and give a customer experience that is seamless. So the fetching data with multiple API calls kind of degraded the performance of their app, and that's where they started working on the new specification, which is GraphQL. So what GraphQL does is, instead of fetching the data for each of the endpoints, it fetches data as a single API call, and it gets you data that you need in your client, and then it avoids doing the multiple calls to the APIs, and the GraphQL has a single endpoint and it makes a single call and gets the data. So let's see how it works in reality. So the GraphQL, as I said, it's a query language for APIs, and for that you also need to describe your data. You need to tell what your data is, what are the fields, and what are the types that this field has, what are the relations, and things like that. And when you do that, when you query the data, you have to tell what you really need from the backend, and then you define that based on that. Maybe. So the client, the GraphQL offers client a power to ask exactly what they need and nothing more, and then you kind of avoid making multiple calls, aggregating data, filtering data, and then just showing the data that is makes sense to the user. So instead of doing all those operations on the client side, you just specify within your in GraphQL query what exactly you need, and then it does all the things behind the scenes. So a quick example here about REST versus GraphQL. So again, I'll go back to the same example from Facebook, where you can see there are different REST endpoints being called to get the user ID, then get his post, can for that post get the likes and the comments, right? Instead of making those 4 or 5 calls in the GraphQL, you're making a single call, and then you're asking for the user ID, what are the posts, what are the likes for those posts, and other comments. And you can also limit how many comments that you want to get, and then you can use that data and bind that to your user interface or your mobile app or your front end. So what is the difference between REST API and GraphQL API? So architecturally, the REST API is server driven, and the server decides it provides you different endpoints, and it will based on those endpoints it will return the data. Whereas the GraphQL it is client driven, and it uses schemas and types. So client tells what data that they want, what schema and data types that based on that they request the GraphQL server what data they want, and then GraphQL server will return that data. The format that today is supported by REST, REST supports different types of formats, XML, JSON, or plain text as well. GraphQL today supports JSON. The current standard supports JSON. The GraphQL also is self-documenting, and we'll see that in shortly. When you define the schema, GraphQL smartly creates documentation for you, and it shows in a playground. In terms of the learning curve, well, REST is easy to understand, GraphQL has few more nitty-gritties, and you need to there is a slight learning curve when you want to use all the features of GraphQL. In terms of community and adoption, REST is widely adopted, and there is a large community. GraphQL has the community is growing. REST, especially when we have APIs. Let's say I developed an API a year back, and I made the change, and I added new field. In REST, we have to create the version because the clients may break when there are changes in the API, and then basically you create a version 1 for your old clients, version 2 for your new clients, and so on. In GraphQL, there is no need for versioning, so you can deprecate the types without breaking the client, and whether it's an old user or the old client or it's a new client, they can still use the API without doing any versioning. And the use cases are like, REST is largely all public APIs or resource-driven APIs are built with REST. However, the GraphQL APIs are largely used for mobile front-ends or web front-ends and in complex and microservices architecture. So GraphQL has been pretty popular within the microservices architecture to basically serve the front-ends. Quickly on the benefits, again, I covered most of it in my earlier slides, but because the major benefit that GraphQL offers is, it is a great fit for complex systems and microservices. It does, get the data fetching in single API call, so we don't have a issue of over or under fetching, on performance issues related to that. And you can tailor the request that you need. You can ask the data that you need, and using the GraphQL features for filtering and aggregation. Also, you do a lot of validation and type checking, which happens out of the box with GraphQL. It auto-generates the documentation, and there is no versioning and code sharing. How does GraphQL work? So we'll see also with an app. So let's say there is a client, and it's a mobile app which is asking for data, and what it does is it queries the GraphQL server, and GraphQL server has something called resolvers. So resolvers are these are the functions that will fetch the data based on the model or the schema that is defined. So for example, I have users and posts as my models, and there is a schema defined. Based on that, the resolver will fetch the data from database, and these databases could be a SQL database, could be MongoDB database, or mix of databases. The resolvers use connectors based on the database, and they will fetch the data from different databases, and they will serve the request back to the client. And we'll see shortly with the simple app that I have how this works. So some terms in GraphQL is about. So let's start with the schema and type. So what is schema? The schema is it's like defining a database table, right? You define your database table, you provide the column and the data types of the columns, right? So you define the schema for your model as well as for your queries or for your mutations. So we'll see queries and mutations shortly. So you define what that means in your GraphQL server, and this is a contract that will that will happen between the client and the server. And each object has to be specific type. It has to have a number of fields, and fields can have different types of data types like string, int, float, or boolean. And the exclamation mark denotes the field is mandatory or not mandatory. So this is a sample schema that we'll see later in the demo. And you can see that there is a query type, there is an auth type, and there is a book type. So it's a small application that returns authors and books and their ratings. So what is queries and mutation? Okay. So queries are which will get you data, and mutations will change your data. So queries are used to request data from the server. So unlike REST, where there are defined structure and there are multiple endpoints, GraphQL always exposes you one endpoint. It allows it will give one endpoint, and we'll see that. And using the query syntax, we can decide what data we want, and using that endpoint, we can fetch the data from the server. Whereas mutation is used to modify the data on the server. And the mutations are equivalent to the create, update, or delete operations. In REST API, we use HTTP verbs for create, update, delete. In GraphQL, we have mutation, which will do similar COD operations, but without using this form, and it will use the same endpoint to perform these operations. So queries, to start with, how queries and mutations look. So queries at the simplest, is asking what you want, the fields on the object. And let's say the schema that we saw, it basically provides you a list of authors and their books. So here I have a query which says query author's name. This will return me, all the authors that are there in my database and their name. Now let's make it a little more complex. So here, let's say I want to return all the authors or the author, which is with an ID, and then I want to list his name and his books. When I run this query, it will return the data in JSON format, and it will tell, let's say, it is my books only, so name of the author and the books that I have written. Mutation will create a new record in the database, and the mutations are written like this. So you have mutation, then you have to tell what that mutation is. So create author, and then you have to provide the data that is required to create the author. So in this case, we just need the name property for the create author. So it will create the record in the database, and then it will return the ID and name back to us. The last important concept is subscription. So the subscriptions, it allows clients to listen to real-time messages from the server, and the client connects to the server with a bi-directional communication channel. Let's say you're using WebSocket and you send a subscription query. Whenever there is an update on the server and that event is triggered, the server will return back you with the latest result to the client using the same communication channel. So this is another powerful feature where let's say you have a query, and let's say you're creating an account in a mobile banking application, and when the creation happens, there are so many things, events are triggered, and as the events are completed, your mobile app will send you notifications that your account is created, your credit card is created, your credit card is dispatched, and then things like that. So it's again very powerful feature that you will see in some of the latest mobile banking applications. Using GraphQL, you will see all these notifications coming in. Now, quickly going back to testing GraphQL. So testing GraphQL is pretty much same as testing REST APIs, and there's so many choices for you to automate. They use the tools to first test manually and then automate. I just listed down some of the popular ones like Curl or Postman. You have Rest Assured, you have Supertest in Node.js, or REST in .NET. And you can use any GraphQL client and a testing framework like Jest or Mocha or JS, and you can automate the test. So there are choices, and you can select what's best based on the technology that you are using, and the one that you are familiar with, to use that tool. So let's take a demo, and we'll see the GraphQL server and the client running. Let me switch to another screen. So a demo application that I have, and as I said, there is a schema that is created. It basically has a list of authors and the books that those authors have written. And there are some fields like title, published, the publication year, link, rating, and the link to the author, right? And then we also have some queries defined here. So I can query authors, I can query a particular author, or I can query a book. And we can add more and different queries and pagination and things like that. At the moment, I have kept it very simple for this demo. And then we also have one mutation, which will create an author back into database when we call this mutation. I talked about the resolver function. So the resolver functions are kind of associated with your schema, and they will provide you the ability to query the database, actual database, which is the MongoDB that is running behind this application. And using the Mongo client, they will provide you ability to query the database or create the new record in the database. I have usual database client which is configured to run the MongoDB and Express.js, which will kind of serve the GraphQL endpoint or this API endpoint for my front end application. Now, when we run this, one benefit or one feature of GraphQL is when we run this application, the GraphQL will provide you a playground or kind of a UI through which you can try out your GraphQL, your API. So by default, on the GraphQL projects, they will load you something like this. And in this UI, you can query your GraphQL API, you can create mutations and things like that. I also talk about the automated auto documentation with GraphQL. So when we run this project is running now, and then it automatically gave me the playground. If you look at the documentation part, options or sections, it will tell me what are the different queries that I can run and what is the data that I can request. And it will also tell me what are the mutations that are available. And this is what we call a self-documentation feature. It will also tell us the schema. What is the schema that is is used for this GraphQL API? So you don't have to configure anything. The GraphQL client or the Node.js package that I'm using, it will automatically generate this documentation. Now, how query happens? So let's try out some queries, a simple query, and get the list of all the authors. And you can see that as I start typing, it also intelligently tells me what are the schemas or what are the types that are available to query. So let's say authors, and then we'll say get me out names of the authors. Okay? And then when I run this query, it will return me the list of authors and the name. And I can expand this further, and I can say and I'll say the name of books that they have written. And then it will, no name property, there is a title. And it will return me all the books and the title of those books written by each of these authors. Right? So if you are testing GraphQL manually, in the beginning, you can use this your playground and you can play with the API, and then you will start inspecting the GraphQL API to create your design your test cases. You can also, this is the simplest query, but let's say you want to do some filtering as well. I want an author with ID is 1. I can do that. I can do a filtering here, and then it will return me the record that has the ID 1 and the related information about that. We can do lots of things like we can create query variables. So, for example, I want to pass this externally instead of hard coding this value. I want to use different variable here or different values. So I can say ID.
Hi, Umesh.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. We have a few, related queries coming in.
Yeah.
There is a query that the queries you have written are post calls. If so, why and how?
Yeah. So everything in GraphQL is post. Unlike REST API, all the queries that are the GraphQL endpoint, the query or the mutation that we do, they are at the post call, and that's how the GraphQL is designed.
Also, a related question: what is the use of creating mutations?
So the use of mutation is to create the records back into database or we update the records in database. So like in REST API, you have the get call to get the data. But let's say you want to create a new record or update the record, you will use post and put. The mutation is similar to post or put or delete. The mutation will change the record back in your database or in your backend.
Okay, thank you. You can continue on this. I think we have another 4 minutes.
Okay. So how much time remaining? I'll quickly cover the rest of it.
4 minutes. 4 more minutes.
Okay. All right. So let's quickly move on to Postman and see how things work here. So probably let me do one thing. So in Post, the first tool that we can look at is the Postman, and Postman offers you to query the GraphQL. If you see, there is an option called GraphQL, and this is the URL through which you can access the GraphQL backend. And as I said, there is only one verb, that is post verb, that is used. And we can use the GraphQL option here and query the data from Postman. So let's say the similar option that the query that I was doing. Say and I'll say name. Alright, so if I run this, it will perform the same operation or the same result that our playground returns. So it basically returns me the names of the authors and in an array. We can also add some tests here. So simplest test is to check whether it returns 200, because GraphQL will either return 200 or 400. 200 is for success, but it can also have an exception coming from the backend. And 400 is something that GraphQL server it doesn't like the response, or it doesn't like the request. It will return 400. So let me quickly add one more test case here. I have something in my sketch file. Let's say I want to check whether the values that are returned are as per the expectation. I can do that. So we'll just inspect the values and we'll see, make sure that everything looks good from the data that is coming back from the server. And once we run the test, it will show you that it's 200 and the off name. So we can do lots of other things. With respect to the time, I think I'll move on. All the code and examples are available in GitHub repository that you can look. So coming back to creating automated tests, so I have used Supertest for this example, and Supertest is a Node.js testing framework, and I use Just as a test runner. And using Supertest and Just, you can create some really simple test cases for your GraphQL backend. For example, this is a similar test case for fetching the author. We basically make a post call, we send a query that we want the list of authors, we set the headers and the what is the expected content type and the status code, and then we query, we send the request and we validate the values that are returned by the GraphQL backend. Similarly, we have fetch a particular author and we say, it is the correct record. We can also test, let's say this is a query, this is not yet implemented in the backend, and then it should return error, and in this case, it is returning 400. Similar to mutation, you can also run the test around your mutation. So let's say I want to run a mutation, create a new author, and check whether the author is created, and then I can do that. So I have used, as I said, super test and the test, and they offer all the matches and expectation. The validation methods for you. So that's pretty much. So I have this GitHub repository where everything is configured. You can also look at the actions where we can run the Postman collection as your Newman CLI, or you can run the the tests which are written in jest and super test. That's pretty much.
Thanks,
any questions?
That's where I'm coming. We have one question. Can we get something without request body? In this case, like we get in REST by just passing a URL?
So the way GraphQL is designed, you have to define the schema, and there is kind of you define the district checking as well. So it will always return you something based on the defined query and the schema.
Okay, cool. One last question. Can aggregations be used in the query? Like how many books are written by ID equals 1?
I think there are some advanced features in GraphQL. Again, there are different implementations, and I think that there is a way to do that. But again, you can also have your resolvers configured to do it better at the at the server side.
I think there were a couple of other basic questions like what is GraphQL and where it can be used. I think that got answered as in when Unmesh started taking us through the slides. Hope that is clear, Jyoti, and I don't know who this is, 3034. Okay. Cool. Thank you so much, Unmesh. That was a very informative one. Thank you so much for taking us through the GraphQL new featured and new the way you can create aggregations and do testing. Is my screen seen?
Not yet, Dipti.
Thanks, Dipti.
Yes, we can see it now.
Thank you so much. Dear audience, we will just add this link. Please feel free to give feedback for Unmesh session. And Unmesh, thank you so much for coming up with this, and thanks for joining us. We really had a great time. I have taken most of the questions which were there in the chat. Still, audience, if you would want to connect with him, if you have more questions, please connect with him on LinkedIn, or I think Unmesh also can answer it over the chat. Thank you so much, Unmesh. Can I quickly call upon Sumit? Sumit, are you around?
Yeah, Dipti, I am here.
Yeah. Audience, Sumit will be taking us through the next part of the conference with the rest of the tracks. Welcome, Sumit, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Dipti. I'm just sharing my screen if some of you can confirm.
Yes,
I hope it is visible.
Yes.
All right. So thank you so much, Dipti, for really to be a wonderful host. So once again, a very warm welcome to everyone for API Summit 2021. I'm Sumit Mundala. I will be your host for a few more sessions along with Dipti. And few house rules. Once again, please keep yourself muted and feel free to post all of your questions and queries in the chat. We will try to collect and take for all of you with the speakers, right? So having said that, it was really a wonderful session from Umesh, and now we are moving for another and an interesting session from Kushan. I hope, Kushan, you are around. If You can just confirm me.
Yes, Sumit.
Great. So, welcome, Kushan Amrasari. Kushan will be taking us all through the. It's a very, a key talk about test automation framework, which can be, developed and created using .NET and C Sharp, using specifically on REST Sharp. So when we talk about Kushan, he's having more than a decade of experience into IT and quality assurance space, with a proven track record of helping and supporting a lot of medium and large and small scale testing COEs and infrastructure. He is an excellent and a very active member with respect to testing community. He likes and keeps sharing a lot of his efforts and experiences during the meetups, training and conferences, and also he's a very active blogger. You can find more about Kushan on the speaker profile page, but with saving that, Kushan, stage is all yours. Maybe you can start sharing and help us to your an interesting talk. Over to you, Kushan.
Yeah. So, Sumit, can everyone see my screen?
Let me confirm.
Yes, Kushan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kushan.
So, I'm Kushan. I'm from Sri Lanka. So, what I'm going to do today is a very basic kind of automation framework to give you all the idea what the core components that should be in an automation framework, and using REST Sharp, which is the alternative of REST Assured, which we do it in Java, and it's most used in REST Assured is mostly used in the industry. So first of all, before starting the session, there is a kind of a misconception also going on, like API testing is web services testing. So do you think this is true? Is API testing equals to web services testing?
Possibly you can answer in chat.
Pardon?
I think it's similar. Both is dependent on each other.
Okay. So are there APIs which are not web services?
Yes.
Okay. So do we test those APIs also?
If we deploy that API under the web services, then only we can test. If
Yes.
we are not putting under the web services, then obviously it is work as a standalone. Example,
Yeah.
Selenium APIs,
Cool.
Java APIs.
Good. Chetan, right?
Yes, I am Chetan. I joined from London.
Cool. So that's the entire concept. So we talk about APIs testing, but all the APIs are not web services. There are APIs like REST Sharp, REST Assured, APM, Selenium, and there are other APIs where developers use. So those are also APIs, and we can do those API testing also, which we call it like kind of white box testing. So it's not totally web services. So APIs which are available in web services we call web services. So that just want to clear up the mind and energize you all. So I'm Kushan from Sri Lanka. So I'm the initial creator of the CPWST examination. It was a nice journey with ATA to introduce CPWST, world's first kind of web services testing and test automation certification for everyone to learn. Currently I'm working at Courthouse. It's a UK-based organization and which has development in Sri Lanka and Sydney, Australia. I have 14 plus years in automation experience. Worked in frameworks in multiple languages and tools, and I have written 300 articles in LinkedIn. So whatever I learn, I used to blog them so that others can also learn after me. So I share my knowledge. Creator of Selenium tool, which is a Selenium wrapper, which is available in Maven dependency, and also I have created YouTube channel called Global Technical QA. While I learn new tools, I used to
give it away, give those knowledge to the rest of the people. So I have participated a dozen of conferences from 2017, ATA continuously I am contributing there. So and even the DevOps Plus Summit, Selenium Summit. Okay, so what is the automation framework? Any of you all can think. So automation framework doesn't limit to only web services, right? Today, when we go to an organization, they ask us to not do, throw away scripting, just single lines, single script. So we have to do it in a framework. So what is an automation framework? But you, Chetan, can you just...
Yeah, automation is nothing but a set of guidelines. So it is not particularly, we can say you have to particularly follow that guideline, but it is not explicit, what we say, or it is set of guideline and rules we have to follow, but it is not forcefully we have to use each and everything mentioned as per the framework.
Yeah. So it's a kind of a platform where we use best practices and standards, okay, so that it will survive in the organization. So if the automation practice has to survive in the organization, we have to at least have a basic kind of an automation framework. So in the core of the framework, there is a tool API which can be Selenium, which can be REST assured, and or APM or Windows application driver. So if you're doing Windows program, but we cannot restrict an automation framework to a particular particular tool or an API. So sometimes we may have to merge two APIs like Selenium with REST assured, because one of my person who was training under me, she had a problem that she had a web service, then she has to verify it in a web UI and then again in a web service. So this is a journey. So but she has to actually integrate both of them. So we cannot limit the automation framework into one whole API. So we can integrate one or more APIs into it. So there are a couple of components in a framework. So these are kind of best practices that we can have in a framework. So these are kind of core components. One is reusability. So we have to reuse the functions, methods, or even if it's in Selenium, it's the page classes that we have to reuse, so that we can have kind of minimum work when there is changes happening in basically, you guys know Selenium. If there is a change in the UI components, it's simply go to that page class and change it off. So that's why we promote reusability. And next one is reporting. So there should be some kind of a reporting added, so that we know what test cases are passing, what are failing, and why they are failing. So then another thing is data driven. And we have to make it the framework configurable. That means the framework should not be run in one environment. It should run in many of the environments like UAT and sometimes production, developer environment and QA, and portable. So all your resource files or any other data files that we are using in the framework should be in the particular framework structure. It should not be in any other places, because once you done with this framework, you might have to post it to GitHub or a source control mechanism, or you simply give it to another person, and all the files should be structured within that framework. And extendability. So extendability means we might have to add more functionality. Say for example, if it's a Selenium framework, we might have to add PDF validation. So then we had to add a dependency called Apache PDF box, so that it will actually read the PDF and validate the contents. Image comparison, there are dependencies, so that we can add that dependency and create a utility method for that one, which will be reused in all the test cases that we want to validate. So same way in .NET also, the dependencies are not there. It's in Java, but .NET we have got the NuGet packages, and thereafter we can extend the functionality of the framework. Any questions, guys?
Not a question, but if you can maximize your presentation in full mode, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now fine?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, so REST Sharp. REST Sharp is also it's the alternative in .NET to do web services automation. So it's an alternative for REST Assured, and it's used in .NET, and as a NuGet package we can actually get the particular DLL downloaded and installed in our solution, and it helps us to automate web services regression test cases. So for this needed stuff is we need Visual Studio, and for the framework what I have used is REST Sharp, and I have used for reporting the extent reports, and for the data driven I have used JSON because it's much faster. From the JSON file I'm driving data, but people can add any other Excel based or any other file format for their framework. Then I'll just do the demo. So the framework is now we have to install all the NuGet packages through the NuGet package solution. So what I have installed here is extent reports for the reporting, and then I have installed NUnit to drive my test cases. That's the test execution add-on. So then I'm using NUnit 3, and apart from that I'm using Newtons of JSON to read from JSON files. Okay. So what I have done is I have done a simple framework. You can add complex to this one, but I want to highlight the core areas. So so in the JSON file, to read the JSON, I have created a JSON reader program. So this will actually read the JSON file. I have to give the item name and the file name, and it will actually fetch the related data from my JSON file, which is stored here. So it will give the file path and the name parameter, then it will actually fetch the value parameter. So this is how I have derived my data, but we can add more complexity to this one. We can have like separate data files for separate environments, and then thereafter what I have done is I have created the request in reusable format so that I can call them in my test cases. So that it's kind of a reusability, but we can add more complex, if we have kind of more post test cases with different parameters, we can add them in this particular class and call that particular method. So this is for the delete. So simply what I have done is in the delete I'm calling the delete URL. So if there are more parameters, we can add parameters for this one, and I'm calling the REST client class. I'm calling the variable REST client from the REST client library. So I'm passing this URL and I'm calling the method delete, and I'm executing it here. Then after executing, I get the response, and I can add more responses if there are more responses coming in. So I'm returning the status code to my from this particular delete request method. So same way, get called, I have called the get method, and then post, I have called the post method here. So the entire request body will be created as a JSON body and sent. Then after that, I'm getting the content string as a response to validate in my test case. Put method is also created here. So push also we can create like this. Patch we can create like this. And after that, what we have to do is I have created class for to generate extend report. Okay. So this.
Sorry to disturb you.
Yeah.
Can you just zoom it? We are unable to see the code actually.
Okay. You want to expand this?
Yeah, like zoom this window.
Now can you see?
Yeah, now it's better.
Okay. So this is the extend reports class that I have implemented, which will actually call the extend reports API and generate the relevant reports. I have a folder within my framework, and it will actually store according to the file name that I have given, or we can have randomly created according to the date timestamp. We can create the file name. So here I'm giving the file name to store, and this is the extend create method, and also log report statements and flush find report. Flush report will actually call the extend flush, which will generate the HTML extend report. So this is the whole implementation of the extend report, and since you guys didn't see, this is the implementation, simple implementation of how the get, how the delete is called, the reusable. So the main concept is all these get calls, post calls and put calls should be done reusable way, and then here it's the get method. So I'm simply calling the get method, and after sending, I have to return the particular status code or what I have to verify from the method to my test case. So this is the post call. So I'm sending the body here as a JSON body. Then put call. So all these are reusable, and this is where I read the JSON file. So I simply have to give the file path and the parameter, and it will fetch me the relevant, the value. So then after that, it will be my test. Simply I am calling the 3 test. So this is the get test. So what I am doing is I am calling the get JSON file, and I am reading from the JSON file. Then here JSON reader. So from the JSON reader, I am reading the data JSON file and getting the request for get, and I'm calling the class. I'm creating an object from my get class, get request class, and thereafter what I do is I check and send the get request, and I assert whether this is assert is true, whether this contains okay, right? So same way, I also kind of log this result in my extend reports. So whether it's passing or failing, and then my post request. So I'm creating my JSON body here and sending my post request to my call. Then after that, what I'm doing is I'm reading the email. I'm checking whether the my result that is sent here from this post request call contains the email that is there in my data.json file. So once it's done, I create a, for further clarification, I create the post report for the post request, and then for the delete. So this is also where I read the delete request call, and I check whether it's okay, right? So then it will generate me the report for the delete request. So like that, put request, or same way I'm calling the test. So I can run this, it's executed, and reports are stored in the reports folder like this. So it will generate, so if we have more get calls, it will generate over here, and we can just navigate and see what are the status of the get report, get calls, and what are the results from our post request. So these are all logged. So test is passing, and this is what I have got. So we can actually customize and log. If the value is there, we can change these methods in the reusable request as and when we need it to according to our business requirements. So these are the reports that are generated. Any questions, guys? So this is a very simple level framework that I want to demo it to you all. There are very complex ones we can actually do, but we need to tweak around with the code and tweak around with the framework to make it go ahead. Any questions, guys?
Suppose if we have a public API, so we need to pass the token, right?
Yes.
So can we handle through this framework?
So if we are going to pass a token from one request from to the other, we have to actually use environment variables, so that we take the value from the, say for example, there's the first one, we send some authentication data and get the token, then that token should be stored in an environment variable so that we can use it across these methods. So then we have to change the framework a little bit and the methods. Okay. Yeah. So
there is one question for you, Kushan, like if you can go to reports. So Praveen is asking, are we getting method-wise report and description for every call or not?
Yeah, method-wise, yes. So this framework.
My question was that, hi Kushan, Praveen question is that, are you not clubbing the result together in a single report, or are you creating?
We can no problem. We can club it. So simply in this one, I'm just categorizing into separate ones. We can club it. It's a matter of changing the code and doing it.
Can we implement spec flow along with this?
Yeah, definitely.
Including this.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's matter of spec flow is a kind of BDD. So we just simply create the feature files and then generate it, and then thereafter for those given when the statements, we write the same framework level code. We use the methods which we can actually expand more those reusable methods, and then thereafter we call those reusable methods within those given when then methods that has been generated.
Does this this REST will support only with NUnit or any other MS test or XUnit?
MS test also it supports.
Okay, thank you.
This is an independent kind of an API which will help us to do automation like Selenium in Java. Like we can run it in JUnit and TestNG. Similar, this can be run in other execution frameworks.
So Kushan, there is one more question from Harish. He's trying to ask, maybe I will fold his question in two parts. First, he's trying to say that you have shown us a sequential execution, but we can also do a parallel execution in this sense.
Yeah.
And when we do parallel, then how we kind of control event-based, execution of method. For example, delete should only be called after creation is done successfully. So maybe that kind of a verification, validation, and handling, if in the framework we want to do, if you can showcase.
Yeah. So if creation is done, can you repeat again?
Yeah. So delete method should only be executed if creation is done successfully.
Yeah.
So he's trying to understand how we can do this in the script, or maybe if framework is giving that kind of handles or something like that?
Maybe like we can use in unit based, I think attributes are there, right? Depends on. So we can use something like that.
Okay, so does this answer your question, Harish? Yeah. Okay. And parallel execution definitely we can do, right? It's like you will be creating another class. Okay.
Yes, like rest assured also we can use parallel executions. We are using TestNG. It works fine. But when I use parallel execution in Selenium, there was a problem. Like it was going to the other browser and typing in when there are two things going on similarly. Because if we are doing in two browsers, but here we can do it parallel execution.
Okay. So Kushan, like, are you done like with the demo, or you have anything? All right. Okay. So let me just check if there is any question. Okay. There is another question from Harish is asking if there is any other approaches which you can possibly share for the scenarios, maybe best practices or something like that.
Okay. So the best practices in the device is number one, we have to use the coding standards. Basically, in my organization, I'm using REST Sharp, but we are not into more towards web services, but we are towards Selenium. So in my company, we are a Microsoft company, so Microsoft kind of platinum partner, and we had to develop our framework in kind of C#. So for the coding, we actually use the coding practices in our company, the developers. There is a coding documentation there. So there is a specific application called Codacy in my organization, and if we set off code like to the GitHub, if we push codes without a standard, that particular robot will actually scan the code and say this cannot be pushed because of these kind of code malpractices going on where we haven't used the coding standards. So we had to use the coding standards, and we don't actually create temporary variables like when we want to assign a value from a particular element, we don't use a temporary variable, then we use that variable in the assets. So we have to directly put it so that we reduce the number of lines. Those are the coding practices. Then automation coding standards should be written. Then apart from that, we can use different kind of reporting frameworks. We can use Grafana for this, Kibana or Grafana, and we can extend reports is one way. There is another approach called Aloo dashboard. If the organization wants a dashboard, so we can use more better reporting mechanisms. And BDD is not actually a mandatory thing, but if the organization needs it, if it's a requirement, we can add the spec flow into it. So those are the things actually, but we have to the best part of rather than going into a tool and using this APIs and doing automation is we have the full control on this, so that we can change here and there and customize it. But if we are going to a tool, it's bit of we are like limited to certain aspects of the tool, and we have to be restrained to it. So that's my part. But I want to say the standards, we have to use the coding standards and automation standards in the organization.
Okay, yeah, I hope that answers Harish's question. So I'm just checking if you have other question from anyone. So I see there is no question. So I have one question which I wanted to ask. So basically, I mean, you have showcased maybe at a high level, just trying to understand in terms of scalability of this kind of a framework. if you want to do kind of things like contract API testing and use kind of a mocking for API testing particularly. So I'm just curious to understand if that support is readily available, or if not, then how we can integrate with kind of a simulators and service virtualizations and use mocking to be able to start on contract API testing.
So if mocking, I don't think this is supporting, but say for example, we can integrate these because the code, these are code-based kind of API tools. So if you want, if there are DLLs or NuGet packages that supports mocking, it's simply integrating this and calling those method API calls within this one. So that's how we do it. It means like we can add functionality easily for these things rather than if we go to Catalan Studio, we are restrained. If it doesn't have, we have to have add-ons. If the add-ons is not there, then we are kind of restrained. But here, if we are using, if we want scalability, we can add scalability where we can simply research and find the suitable, there are NuGet packages. So we can integrate by REST Sharp.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking, like, I'm not sure if you have shared already, but if you can share this link with all the audience, maybe they can go and really have a kind of a deep dive and understand all the benefits.
In REST Sharp.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I will send you the link
for the audience. Yeah.
This is the link. So we can, I think you can do synchronous, asynchronous calls and everything. Authentication is there. Parameters, how to send this, serializing. All these are there in this particular. That is not, there is it's a kind of a big documentation in here, but pretty much it will help us to do the web services automation. But there's another counterpart called Unirest. It's much, I think it's a bit, the Unirest is kind of, Sumit supports other languages too. So, so that's, we can actually use REST Sharp or Unirest to do web services automation. So most people are used, they have used REST Sharp, but there is another counter, API that is there for web service automation called Unirest. People can also will find and Unirest C#. Okay, I can send that to also link.
Yeah, that will also be good. Yeah.
These are the two alternatives when we go to code-based web services automation.
Okay. Well, I think it is really good. Maybe it will help these links which you have shared with everyone. So, any other question from anyone? We have few more minutes left for questions. So, yeah, if you have any question. All right. Okay. So, question. Let me take control back. I will also share the slide. Yeah. Just give me a second. All right. Okay. Yeah, I hope you can see my screen, all of you, once again. And if anyone can confirm quickly.
Yes, Sumit, it's visible.
Great, thanks, Harsh. Yeah. So thank you once again, Kushan, for really a wonderful session and a great insight about the framework which you talked, and also thanks for sharing the links. I'm sure members can go and have a kind of a deep dive for that particular framework. And feel free to reach out to Kushan if you have any questions on that particular framework. And I think some kind of a collaborations and you want to contribute, definitely it is really good to have as a community. So thank you, Kushan. Once again, thanks for a wonderful session. I think with that, I will move on to the next very interesting session. I hope Vinayak, you are here. If you can just confirm and we can give a quick start for you. Yeah, hi Vinayak. Great. So yeah, Vinayak, I will hand over to you. Just let me introduce you. So welcome Vinayak TT. Vinayak is coming as a co-founder from QA Tech Talk, and he will be talking on very important topic, security in terms of API. Really looking forward for this great insight from you, Vinayak. Now, when we talk about Vinayak, he's having again more than a decade of experience into testing. He's working onshore, offshore, and having a variety of domain expertise like BFSI, fintech, real estate, evals, and etc. So, and really, it is great to know that he is a co-founder for QA Tech Talks. You must have seen a lot of conferences and meetups happening around this, and he's a very active member in of our community and really passionate tester. He's also an author for Cypress Cookbook, which is really wonderful to know. And it is really a privilege, Vinayak, to have you here and share your experiences and insight on security testing for API. In terms of Vinayak, you can go to the speaker profile page and have a detailed insight about what he's doing and his interest and things like that. And feel free to connect with him, if you have any questions or kind of expertise you want from his domain. So yeah, with that, stage is all yours, Vinayak. Maybe you can share your screen and help us through your topic.
Sure, Sumit. Thank you for the introduction. Can you see the screen?
Oh yes, yeah, I confirm.
Sorry, I couldn't. The background is not working. So background image I tried to update, but somehow it's not working. So
no, that is fine. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can go. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, first of all, in today's topic, I'll be talking about API security testing, and my name is Vinayak Datti, and thank you, Sumit, for the introduction. So yeah, already Sumit have given the introduction. Yeah, just a bit about myself. I'm Vinayak Datti, from co-founder of QA Tech Talks, and I have overall 10 plus years of experience as a test manager, test lead, and test architect as well. And I'm a corporate trainer for Cypress, and I do training. I wrote a book on Cypress book and a co-founder of QA Tech Talks community. And in free time, I do blogging, keynote speaker, and organizing events as well. So this is my profile. If anyone got any queries on anything, feel free to contact me. Okay. So yeah, from the session, the key takeaways I'll be covering about potential risks of APIs, common attacks against web APIs, and best practices for securing APIs. So one of the things is the security. We don't need to focus on the web application, but yeah, we can cover the APIs as well. Okay. So yeah, the most general testing types we do usually functional testing and performance testing and API testing. And test automation is one of the key area in the QA role. And which is a specialized testing, which is the security falls in the place, which is certification testing, usability testing. So yeah, we have to focus on security testing as well. Even though we are not the security experts in that area, it is mostly like security experts, and they do the audits and vulnerability checking. But yeah, as a QA point of view, we have to also involve in the security testing and scanning as well. So here is the API status codes, everyone familiar. So the general status codes are, if it's like a 200 series, it's a success, 201 is a created, and 300 series. So everyone familiar, like 301 is a redirection, and 400 series is for client errors and unauthorized, forbidden, and not found. And yeah, 500 series is for if the server is down or server gateway timeout. So we face these error codes. So here is the top API security risks from Synform. So the general API securities are like asset management, code injection in sense of like SQL injections and NoSQL injections, cross-site scripting, data exposure, object level authorization. Authorization is one of the important key aspect in the security. Logging and monitoring, and the next level is functional level authorization and security misconfiguration in the code level and architecture level as well, and finally user authentication. Excuse me. So here we can see the OASP ZAP is a like open source security. They maintain the security tools and standards, and yeah, they maintain the ISO 27001. every year they do like analysis and they release like top securities for the web application, APIs and mobiles. So here is the top security risks where user and function level authorization. So authentication mechanisms are often implemented incorrectly, allowing attackers to compromise authentication tokens or to exploit implementation flaws to assume other user identities temporarily or permanently, compromising a system's ability to identify the client or user, compromises API security overall. So here the thing is like the security, if the architecture and the authorization is not properly defined, so there is a chance of allowing attackers to compromise the authentication tokens. So the tokens comes here, JSON tokens, which is the JWT token, and OAuth tokens. So yeah, so the main thing we have to keep up the best practice for authorization. And the next level is like the excessive data exposure. Looking forward to generic implementations, developers tend to expose all object properties without considering their individual sensitivity and relying on the clients to perform the data filtering before displaying it to the user. So data exposure, we have to make it as a limit. We should not reveal as much as data to the public. So attackers might take advantage to fetch the data. So lack of resource. For example, like APIs do not impose any restrictions on the size of number of resources, and that can be requested by the client or user. So here comes the like API server performance leading to denial of service, DOS, which is the, but also leaves the door open to authentication flaws such as brute force. So lack of resource, for example, the data should be to public. We have to release the data in limited way. So no, we should not. There should be some traffic control to block the denial of service attacks. So I'll be covering more about the DOS in the coming slides. Yeah, the next security risk is security misconfiguration. Whenever there is any, the HTTP methods are not configured properly, or any incomplete ad hoc configurations, or unnecessary HTTP methods, or permissive cross origin, which is a cross origin resource sharing, and verbose error messages containing sensitive information. So cross origin, for example, there is a policy like we should not allow cross origin into our application, but there is a safe way to use the CORS and unnecessary HTTP headers, and the HTTP headers should be properly defined. The next security risk is injection, which is very important in security, API security, which is SQL and NoSQL and command injection. So these are the most high level of vulnerabilities usually found in the applications. And when it occurs, untrusted data is sent to an interpreter. So hackers will always try to interpret the proxy and the traffic server through the servers. So they try to inject the queries. I will be covering more about SQL and NoSQL in the coming slides. The next thing is like asset management. Asset management, API tends to expose more endpoints than traditional web applications, making proper and updated documentation highly important. So we have to make sure all the documentation and versioning is accurate, and we have to make it like up to date. So whenever any deprecated API versions, we have to dismiss it, and we have to release the production APIs with updated versions. Okay, here is the flow for how the API client works. So here we can see web APIs connected to an endpoint, the location of the web server, and supporting databases. So backend, it's everything is an endpoint. Here we can see the left side. The client will be requesting the through API and to the endpoint. So there will be number of endpoints in a company. So from the endpoint will be triggering to the fetching the data from database. And the right side we can see how an API works. So it's like a cycle, API client to API request, server to database, server or database, and API response will trigger back to the client. So yeah, this is the general flow of how the API works in the architecture. Okay. So before jumping to the security best practices, we have to understand the potential risks of APIs. So in the words of Debbie Walkowski, so it's not just your data that is potentially at risk, but also your infrastructure. So the thing is like we are not only exposing the data, so it might be chance triggering the architecture level as well. So there is a chance of attacking the architecture. So by exploiting a vulnerable API, attackers can gain access to your network using one kind of attack. If they are able to escalate privileges, they can then go to other types of attacks and gain a foothold in the network. So this is one of the important thing. If the attackers try to get a chance to inject any queries, if there is any like vulnerable, if there is any chance to enter in one query, they will inject more. So there is more scope to attack the architecture. Okay, and there is another thing is the right attack often lead to a multiple level attacks. So it's a common thing. If there is one bug in the application, so the code is not defined, written properly, there is a chance of more bugs. In the same way, if one vulnerability is there in the application, there is a chance of more vulnerabilities. So that's what he mentioned. Your organization most sensitive data being compromised, whether it's personally identified information, excuse me, or intellectual property. So it could be the data or the property level attack as well. So some of the key points from Jacob it is scope. So when an API is deployed without sufficient security in place, or is deployed before security is in place the correct way, it commonly causes deployment failures or incidents. So whenever any application is developing or revamping, we have to make sure security also one of the testing type. So usually we do the functional API performance level, but yeah, we have to cover the security as well. So as organizations continue to break down monolithic applications into microservices, nowadays all the applications and infrastructure is mostly microservices, right? So the thing is, there is the growth of microservices can lead to the more vulnerabilities. So we have to make sure each service is tested properly before deploying to production. So as I earlier mentioned, some common attacks against the web APIs. Here is the first one, which is the injections, which comes as a SQL injection, NoSQL, or there is another one, cross-site scripting. So it is able to, the injection is able to insert malicious code or commands into the program, usually where ordinary user input, such as a username or password, is expected. So SQL injection is a specific type of injection attack enabling an attacker to gain control of SQL database. So the attackers, what they will try to do, they will mimic the application and the queries, they will inject the vulnerable queries into the malicious queries into the database, and they will try to fetch the username and passwords from the DB or any data from the payments order, any data from the DB. So the next level of the next level of attack is the cross-site scripting. It's a type of injection attack that occurs when a vulnerability enables an attacker to insert a malicious script. So this level of attack is like usually in the DOM, attackers will try to inject a JavaScript. So it will interpret the attackers will interpret the DOM and it will pass as a proxy. So so the real user, when they log in, so they don't know there is a JavaScript cross-site scripting exists in the application. So we have to make sure those kind of vulnerabilities not exist in the application. So here is the more value of the SQL injection. So applications can talk to database using SQL queries. So usually when we want to talk to a DB, so we need a query. So that is the main thing attackers will try to use for injection. SQL injection occurs when an application does not protect against malicious SQL queries. So all the DBs should not reveal any less suspicious attacks. An attacker can use malicious SQL queries to trick the database into providing sensitive information. So here is one of the another analogy. So here we can see the student URL. We are passing the query student ID 117 or 1 equal to 1. So 1 equal to 1 is a SQL query, which is injecting. So here we can see it's passing to the web API server, and in the backend database, it's doing in the backend it will do the query and fetch, and it will return the responses. So if the database is not secure or the API is not secure, so attacker can fetch all the data. Yeah, here is one more example. Here we can see the attacker is trying to union select username password from users. So he is trying to inject into the DB, and after that, if the DB is not secure, and if you are not tested APIs, the attacker can fetch all the passwords and usernames using the SQL injections. So the above one, here we can see the valid query, which is select star from users, where username is equal to winner and password equal to blue cheese. So below is the invalid query, which is where username equal to administrator dash and password equal to blank. In this way, they will try to inject. There are multiple SQL injections, so they will try their luck. They will inject like hundreds, thousands of queries. If the database is not secure, at least one or two queries will be passed through. So The other common attacks against web APIs is, as I earlier mentioned, DDoS. DDoS is defined as a distributed denial of service. So these kind of service attacks, what will happen? Attackers will try to target those servers. So whenever there is any cache systems, or they will try to clear the application's cache. So the real user won't be able to access the application, because the attackers will try to interpret and they will clear all the cache and the server data. So, so it will bring the application to down 1 to 2 days. It happened in the previous company. So what it usually comes from the attackers, or if I'm not wrong, like a competitors, what they will do, they will try to inject the, clear the application server. So when a real user comes, there will be application is down. So the payments or any orders won't happen. There is a revenue loss. So the next type of attack is the man in the middle. So it is kind of proxy. Attackers try to use as a proxy, and they will try to occur between the client and the API, or between the API and its endpoint. And the final one is credential stuffing. So it is kind of using the stolen credentials on API authentication endpoints to gain unauthorized access. So this is kind of brute force attacks. So some attackers, what they will do, they will try their luck to inject multiple thousands of username. They will try to pass through with passing like invalid, usernames and passwords, and they will try to fix the data. So it's kind of like a brute force attack. They will try to inject at a time loads of data. So yeah, here is one more example of denial of service attack. So here we can see the left side. The most common example of denial of service attack, an attacker uses a network of hijacked computers. So they will use like multiple computers like a real traffic. So it's not a real traffic, it's coming with from the hacker. So they will hit the server and they will clear all the server requests, leaving no bandwidth for the legitimate traffic.